Everyone, we're going to get started. I'll call this meeting to order. Today's invocation is led by Pastor Jay Powell from Church at the Beach. Please rise.
God, we thank you for this evening. I thank you so much that I get to live in Panama City Beach, Florida. Thank you for that blessing, and I ask that you continue to bless our city, bless our county, state, and we thank you that we get to live in the United States of America. We do ask that you bless all of our leaders, take care of them. We ask in Jesus' name for them to have wisdom, and we ask for this meeting to go well and for the benefit of our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We now move on to community announcements. On Saturday, May 10th, there is the Ironman, Visit PCB Ironman.
I need to call the roll, Mayor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. All right, now we talk about the Ironman. On Saturday, May 10th, there's a Visit PCB Ironman, 7:30 at various locations. They are quite varied. It's a substantial run and bike. Thursday, May 15th through Saturday, May 17th, there's a Florida Jeep Jam. That's at Aaron Besson Park. And then Thursday, May 22nd is the next council meeting at 9 a.m. Just a reminder for everyone, the next 3 evening council meetings have been moved to 5 p.m., and that's so folks can enjoy the Thursday night concert series. Okay. We now move on to the approval of the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Now the approval of the agenda and additions or deletions. Any additions or deletions? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 presentations today, the Boys and Girls Club April Honoree and a proclamation presentation for the National Police Week. Start with Boys and Girls Club. Come on up. Ethan. All right. Ethan, right? Yes. Can you help me by holding this so I can read it? Okay. This certificate of special recognition for Ethan Boggs. Whereas the City of Panama City Beach City Council hereby recognizes and congratulates Ethan Boggs on being selected Boys and Girls Club April 2025 honoree, and whereas Ethan has given exceptional service to the Boys and Girls Club. Whereas Panama City Beach City Council and the residents of PCB thank you, Ethan, for your dedication, your unselfish service to your club and community, and congratulate you on a job well done. We've affixed the seal. Congratulations, Ethan. Would you like to say a few words?
No, we're good. No, thank you.
Well, Ethan, we really appreciate everyone who volunteers and steps up in the community, especially when they step up so young. Thank you so much, Ethan. Okay. Chief. All right. Mind holding on to this for me? There we go. We got such a nice crowd, it takes Chief a little while. All right. This is a proclamation designating May 11th through May 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. There's a lot of whereases in this thing. Okay, we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week, which falls on May 15th, National Police Week. Whereas established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. Whereas the members of the PCB Police Department play an essential role in protecting and safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our beach community, visitors, and businesses. Whereas it is important that all residents and visitors know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, sacrifices made by the members of the PCB Police Department, as well as their families. Whereas the Panama City Beach City Council gratefully thanks the men and women of the PCB Police Department who continue to choose to serve and protect our residents, our visitors, and our businesses. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach hereby designates May 11th through May 17th as National Police Week and further extends our appreciation and support to Chief J.R. Talamentes and all members of the PCB Police Department for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication and service to the PCB community. Chief?
Yeah, I'll say a couple words.
I've got it written out. Can I review those before?
Well, thank you, everybody, for the overwhelming show of support. This is an important week for all of us. In D.C. right now, there's a couple thousand cops that are all gathered in one place for one purpose, and that is to ensure that the memory of our fallen heroes never goes away. I hate to have to take notes on this because it always changes, it always gets higher, but in 2024, 148 law enforcement officers in this country died in the line of duty. That's 148 families that were directly impacted, 148 goodbyes to their family that they were never able to say hello to their family again. It's a harsh reality that we face, that when we leave out the door, we might not come home, but these brave men and women, like this officer standing next to me, hold that line, because this is not what we are supposed to do, but this is what we were born to do. So thank you for your support, and say a little prayer for all the guys in blue and girls. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We now move on to public comment on the consent and/or non-agenda business. Please come up, state your name, address me or the council as a whole. Any handouts you have, please place them in the basket. Okay? You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, sir. Council members, thank you for having us here. My name is Ben Rouse. I'm the Visit Panama City Beach Ironman 70.3 Gulf Coast Race Director. Again, race week here. 2 days, we'll have 1,800 athletes out on the streets. I can't thank you enough for your support in this race and this event that we have. It's in its 43rd year. It's grown quite a bit since it first started. I know there's a couple people around that have been involved in the very early stages, but my goal is just to come out and thank everyone for supporting this. I consider a great event. It brings a lot of good people to our town, and we're making it as safe as for our community as well as our athletes. So just a thank to the entire community that support this event, and I encourage you to come out and see really what it is all about. It's life-changing for a lot of people that didn't think they could do something, and we just help them achieve their goal. So from my staff and our people down in Tampa, again, Ironman Florida is 6 months away. This one is just an amazing event, and thank you very much for supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further public comment?
Scott Hellman, 137 Johnson Bayou Drive. Mayor, thank you for bestowing upon me the privilege of speech tonight. I received an email from the city after inquiring about Mr. Beck's suspension, and there was something in there that was a little disturbing, and I'm hoping that maybe you could speak on it tonight. And it seemed to suggest that we don't have a constitutional right to speak in this building. And I'm hoping you could correct this if that's not the official position of the city. I do think it's odd, but it does seem to relate with what happened in the past meeting. Before Mr. Beck took the podium, you had already warned him and told him that he would be removed if he didn't follow your rules of what he can and cannot say. That's called prior restraint, but you can only have that First Amendment violation if you have the First Amendment right. So apparently there's no rule broken here. Also, after you removed him, you all broke into jury and became judges. You had examined his position. You looked at all the evidence and weighed it against the policy, and then you decided about his rights. That's quasi-judicial. That's not administrative, as you claimed. But it can only be administrative if his rights weren't affected. And so I guess, again, we don't have the constitutional right to speak here. And the Constitution states that there should be no right infringed without due process, and those rights include writing and speaking. There was no due process followed for Mr. Beck, and the city's email states that no rights were infringed because Mr. Beck was still able to write. Now, it seems that we don't have a constitutional right to speak, and this is bothering. The email, it's at the back in the room if someone wants to read it. It also equates this room, and it states that this is your city council house. And it equates the rules in this house to the rules that I have in my private home, that I can make whatever rules I want up for a party, and therefore so can you. So when you're enforcing these and throwing people out or doing whatever, you're allowed to do that because I can do that in my home. But this isn't a house. This is a public building. This is a government building open to the public. And we, the people, own this building, and we do have a constitutional right to speak here. And I hope at least one of you will have the courage to speak up tonight and say something in opposition, because that email said that Mr. Beck's rights were not infringed because he can still walk and breathe. That is offensive. And I hope, Mayor, that you have something to say about that, because I have no words for that. And I'm just curious, is that the city's official position on Mr. Beck or on all of us? Thank you again for the privilege to speak here today. It was an honor, and thank you for bestowing that upon me and gracing me with the 3 minutes to disturb you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman. Mr. Beck, we've asked you to submit your comments in writing for the next month. We have duly gone through this. You are not to speak for the next month. You can speak only by submitting your comments in writing. I ask you to sit down, sir.
My name is Captain
I
Gary
ask you to
Wayne
sit down,
Beck.
sir.
I live at
I ask you
2601
to sit
Beach
down,
Street.
sir.
The reason he don't
Sir?
want me to speak is because of all the
Please remove
constitutional
Mr. Beck,
violations
because
and criminal acts that come directly against the people.
remove
I
Mr.
had a
Beck.
man do something really bad to a child in front of me, and they're all gender benders, and they've been torturing me. They got a child, took and called me on Easter Sunday. Mr. Telemonte has not done any investigation. Take your hands off me, sir. I have a right obligation to speak. No, they ain't no talking outside, guys. These people never investigate anything. I have proof of crimes. They taking pictures inside of people's windows, stealing people's properties, and they molested the child in front of me, and they still bragging about the fact they got Telemonte by the chin.
Further public comment? If that has an issue, we may take a recess to make sure it works. Yeah, we're going to take a 2-minute recess just to make sure this works. Is it working?
Working now. Try it now.
All right,
Tom Plumps.
back to our regularly scheduled program. Come on.
Tom
Yes.
Plumps. Marion City Council. I came before you about a year ago asking you to review the special events ordinance to consider the health and welfare of the city residents. You did address an issue if two large events a request to hold events at the same time, but that was all. The special events ordinance only addresses those measures that an event promoter must take to protect those attending that event. It does nothing to protect the health, welfare, quality of life, and safety of the city's residents. The city manager has stated several times that if the promoter applicant is able to check all the boxes, then he must sign off on the application without any consideration of anything else. Road conditions, city resources, impact on the city residents, etc. The same is true for the police department, as they cannot address staffing requirements, traffic impacts, other events, etc. So they must sign off on the application. And the same is true for the fire and EMS, as they can only evaluate the check boxes as to compliance. The city's population is aging and growing with more seniors moving here. Events that cause loud noise, traffic congestion, etc., cause undue stress on them, if not many other city residents. Many people are on medications for high blood pressure, stress, anxiety, muscle relaxation, etc., which are aggravated by many conditions, many of which you can help control by changing the special events ordinance to consider the city's residents and not just the promoters. I forgot to mention these impacts on our pets and security animals also. I ask you once again that you evaluate the city's special events ordinance and make the health, safety, well-being of the city residents the prime focus of the special events ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Further public comment?
Hello, Molly Allen. I'm here today to protest or object to the South or Mandy Lane South Road that is set to be installed through a conservation and mitigated wetland that serves the low water basin and low water lake. My concern is that the road goes to nowhere. It ends in a grassy field, and I'm really curious what the purpose of this road is. If you look online, you can find some engineering drawings for the Pirates Voyage Dinner Theater. That road, back in 2023 in December, was on those engineering drawings, although it's not on the property for the Pirates Voyage Dinner Theater. The engineering drawings state that it's for permit purpose only. So my question is, was the road design required for Pirates Voyage Dinner Theater to be permitted? It also serves, I believe, in the grassy field, which is, if you remember, overflow parking lot B for a certain former mayor's country jam fest. So I'm curious, with this road to nowhere that goes into a grassy field, which has been touted by the applicant as general public use to connect a park to a park, who is going to generally and publicly use that road without careening into children playing soccer, people picnicking, bird watching in a grassy field in Aaron Besant Park? Also, there's a set of woods that will be removed. Half of the woods towards the walking ramble will be taken down. It is a pristine scrub oak flatwood forest that was gained by the Florida Forever Funds, the FCT or the FTC, Florida Communities Trust. The conservation easement is in our tax deeds, and it states no roads will be built there. It also states that no fill will be put in those wetlands. It also states that exotic plants can be removed. The public and myself, have noted that there is the exotic Kogan grass in that area. I believe the city has intentionally ignored that piece of property to benefit, and it will benefit, private interest with public funds.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Further public comment? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Whitman, are you able to address any of these comments?
Yeah, I can address Molly's. Mr. Klump's statement is basically for the dais, but Molly's comments, we've been trying to get a road through there since 2012. We do not have a permit for that yet. When we built Aaron Besant Park, I was the chief of police, and I was asked the city manager at that time to try to connect the two parks. Our goal is, and it would come from the dais, is if the road is permitted and we do build it, there would be a gate installed before it gets to Aaron Besant Park to keep people out of it. It'd be used for emergencies to get people out of Pier Park, or if we have a large event there, people can get out of there without causing too much traffic inside of Pier Park. But we do not have a permit yet. It's still with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay. Can you speak to the exotic grass?
I would have to get with Tanner over at our conservation park and have her look at that. I'm unaware of that.
Okay. And was the road required for Pirates Voyage?
No, it was not, because, like I said, we don't have a permit for that at all.
Okay. All right. Mr. Davis, if you could speak to Mr. Hellman's concerns.
Sure. So I had multiple emails back and forth with Mr. Heilman about his concerns over the past week. I provided all those emails to you as contemporaneously when I wrote them. I was attempting to explain to Mr. Heilman how the courts consider your ability to enforce your rules of conduct in your city council meetings, different from if someone wanted to speak on the corner of the street. There are different types of forums, and the courts consider them differently. I apologize if I offended him in some way in making that explanation, but I was simply trying to explain what the law is to him. I'm happy to continue to talk to Mr. Heilman to answer his questions.
Okay. Well, Ben, thank you. Mr. Tom, I'm happy to chat with you about what could be considered for the special events ordinance. You know, you had some fairly general concerns, and we have to operationalize all these concerns. So if it's, you know, particular medical needs of particular residents, I just want to hear you out, and I'm happy to talk with you about them. And so we can figure out how we can address those, but also particularly operationally work with them. Ms. Allen, also happy to chat about your concerns at any time.
Who to direct this at? Mr. Davis, in our current special events ordinance, we do look at and enforce public safety staffing, correct?
Correct. There's required security staffing, traffic control staffing, medical personnel staffing that are required to be considered, that are required to be provided by the event as part of the condition.
Okay. All right. That's all let's see. Anything else? Oh, that's it.
Okay. Any further comments from the council?
No, the gentleman that brought forward about Ironman, that is a great event. It's become a staple in our community. It's one of the best, and it brings some world-class athletes and a lot of wonderful people to our community. So thank you for supporting that and being here on a good note. They bring a lot of incredible people to our community from overseas, and we get to showcase our place with athletes from all around the world. So good event. Keep it up.
Yeah, and I will say, particularly on Ironman, they tweak that run every year to try and make it as useful for the athletes, but particularly minimal impact for the public. I think the last time they did it, because when I got in, I was particularly concerned about that event. There was a brief traffic slowdown when the bikes start going, but it seems to be limited to that. They do a lot of work every time they're tweaking the event in order to make sure it doesn't harm the public and it also satisfies the event's goals. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Ms. Fazzoni.
Resolution 25-106, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of Ford F-250 trucks and 2 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD trucks for the Utilities Department from Allen J. Automotive Management, Inc., doing business as Allen J. Fleet Sales, in the total amount of $393,556, and agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions of the City of Tallahassee contract governing that purchase. Resolution 25107, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of two 2025 Ford F-150 trucks and one 2025 Ford F-450 truck from Duval Ford LLC for the Utilities Department in the total amount of $162,574, and agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions of the Florida Sheriff's Association's agreement governing that purchase. Resolution 25108, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with Green Earth Southeast LLC for landscape maintenance services within the Front Beach Road Community Redevelopment Area in the basic amount, annual amount of $211,044.87. Resolution 25109, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Dewberry Engineers, Inc. for professional engineering services related to the Panama City Beach Fleet Maintenance Building Project in the total amount of $34,420. Resolution 25110, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with Panhandle Forestry Services, LLC, for annual prescribed burn services for the city's conservation park at the set unit price of $150 per acre, and authorizing expenditures under the agreement for fiscal year 2025 in an amount not to exceed $90,000. Resolution 25111, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Taylor Engineering, Inc. for environmental engineering services at the city's conservation park associated with hydrologic assessment in an amount not to exceed $99,105.40. And number 7, revision to the master audit list to remove obsolete items.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fazzoni.
Motion approved. Second.
Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Now I'll move on to our regular agenda. First up on the regular agenda is ordinance 1659. Mr. Davis?
An ordinance amending ordinance 1688, known as the 2021 amended and restated City of Panama City Beach Comprehensive Growth Development Plan, amending the capital improvement element to update the schedule of capital improvements, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing that this ordinance shall take effect as provided by law.
Okay, we will now accept public comment on this agenda item. Is there any public comment on the Comprehensive Growth Plan amendment? Seeing none, Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a requirement of the state of Florida for each year. Every local government in the state of Florida has to update their capital improvement schedule to the comprehensive plan, and this is this year's version of it. The only requirements the state makes of us is that we address sewer, water, stormwater, and solid waste, but as you can tell by the report, we go much further than that, and we will continue to do that. Even though it's not required, it's just a good thing to do. And I want to thank several of the city departments for contributing to this. We had Recreation contribute to it, Public Works, Utilities, CRA, and you see that in the schedule that's before you. The Planning Board considered this request February 12, 2025 at their meeting then, and recommended approval of it 6-0.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the council? Any questions for Mr. Leonard before he walks away? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard. We're good. We're good.
He just makes it come back.
Yeah. We got to get people from the council to be able to ask you questions, just in case, just in case. You'll be up here enough. You'll be up here enough.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
By the way, if this is your first city council meeting, they're all like this. They're all like this. Okay.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. All right, now we move to item 2. Ms. Madalena, could you read the title?
Yes, sir. This is a large conditional use request located at the southwest corner of Hills Road and Topgolf Way. This is a public hearing, a quasi-judicial hearing.
Yep. So I have a script for this too. This is a hearing to consider approval of the large conditional use application from the St. Joe Company LLC, Section 50601 of the city's Land Development Code. This is a quasi-judicial hearing governed by the city's Land Development Code. The hearing is based on the recommendation of the Planning Board's approval. Members of the council have been provided a copy of that order for our review. Okay. Now we do we'll now begin the hearing. Okay. Would all persons wishing to speak during this hearing please rise to be sworn in? If you wish to speak during this hearing, please rise. Okay. Just want to make sure everyone who wishes to speak is, all right. We got them all.
Okay.
Lynn?
All right. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Mr. Leonard?
Thank you again.
Mr. Leonard, were the notice requirements met for this meeting?
Yes, they were.
Okay. At this time, we will ask each council member to make their Jennings disclosure.
Where do you want to start?
Councilman Castro?
Nothing to disclose there.
Vice Mayor?
I had a talk with the adverse or affected party before the meeting.
Okay. Councilmember Colburn?
I've also spoken with some affected parties as well.
Okay.
So I actually work with the St. Joe Company, therefore I will be abstaining from voting on this item. I completed my Form 8, turned it into our wonderful city clerk. It's my understanding I can still take part in discussion potentially.
That's right. Given the disclosure in the Form 8, you can participate in discussion.
All right, so, but from the voting purpose, I will be abstaining.
Okay. Initially, I responded to a few emails very early on to this, but subsequently, I just forwarded them to Ms. Fazzoni per recommendation from council. All right, staff presentation. Mr. Leonard.
And thank you again. This is a large conditional use, which means it's over 3 acres in size. That means the planning board can only make a recommendation on this request. It has to come to the city council for consideration. It is an amusement, which is a conditional use. It's a conditional use in the commercial high-intensity district, which is the underlying zoning district. The planning board considered the request at their meeting on April 9th, 2025, and recommended approval 5-0 with 5 conditions associated with it. Would you like me to list those conditions or wait until later?
Please list the conditions now.
Okay.
You asked.
I did. All right, the first condition is to require a 30-foot vegetative buffer and an 8-foot masonry wall along the portion of the property fronting Hills Road. The vegetative buffer is to be placed outside of the wall, the street side, to shield the wall from public view. The second one is outdoor speakers to be placed at ground level to mitigate against noise impacts. The third one is overhead lights are to be shielded and directed at angles designed to limit the impact on the residential properties across Hills Road. Fourth, the hours of operation for the surfing pool are limited to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. to mitigate against noise impacts. And the last condition is any special events occurring at the location will be subject to the city's noise ordinance. Currently, if you have a special event, it's exempt from the noise ordinance. The planning board felt it was important to put that in there.
Okay. All right. Any further presentation from staff?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you.
At this point, we will hear from the applicant. So do I have to call you Commissioner Carroll while you're up here,
No.
or is it Mr. Carroll?
I have a PowerPoint I gave there. I don't know if you
Should be
can
queued
put it
up.
Good evening. My name is Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering. I'm the engineer of record, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. I have been sworn in. We are here to request approval for a conditional use. Typical developments, this is located within a 78-acre developers agreement that was approved back in 2020. We are located in the southeast quadrant of that property. Top Golf is adjacent to us on the west side there. The big green that you see would be Top Golf. So just kind of get an idea of where we are. We're just south of the roundabout that was recently installed, Top Golf roadway, and then the newly roadway that goes to 98. Typical developments within this area, and I think future developments, because they're not in the overlay district, will just come get a development order. They'll submit to staff. Staff will review it. It'll go through the review process. Once it's approved, they'll put an advertisement in the paper, and they'll move on about their way. Here, because we are as large as we are and because we are amusement, is why we're doing this process. In the very beginning, as part of this requirement, we had to have a community meeting. So we set that up, and we had the pleasure of meeting with quite a few residents. We probably had over 100 people that came and met at the community meeting. Mary, you were in attendance. You were a witness to that. Got to meet a lot of nice folks and kind of show the project. I think there was, we'll take blame for it on our part, that with the mail out, they didn't get evidence of what we were trying to do. I think there was a misconception that maybe this was another water park, a shipwreck island, lots of screaming children. That is not the intent of this project at all. This is limited to a surfing facility. There's no slides, there's no rides, with the exception of getting on a boogie board or a surfboard and enjoying it. I have a feeling that if this gets approved, my daughter will be here a lot, so we would love for this to get
You have
approved.
been sworn in, sir, just so you know.
Yes, yes. Our facility is about 10 acres, and of that, the pool facility itself is close to 3 acres in size, so basically a third of the property we are dedicating to a water body, which is highly unheard of. Most everybody wants to put as much pavement, parking, buildings, and structure that they can put in there, but we think this is something that's not been done in this area. I think it's something that this community would be extremely proud of. As part of laying all this out, obviously, we have the residents that are adjacent to us. We have to be mindful of those residents. We all live in this community as well. We see each other in the grocery stores, so we want to make sure that we're mindful. So the orientation is directed to the north, kind of to the northwest. Any noise that's attracted would be shielded in that direction. This facility has to be fenced. As part of that fence criteria, planning board said, well, if we're fencing it, let's put a solid face fence, so it'll be concrete or block type solid face fence, 8 feet in height. So I'm 6 feet, so this wall is going to be up here, which will also help in mitigating some of the noise. Along Hills Road, it's an existing 66-foot right-of-way. Later on in your agenda, you're hopefully going to approve a contract with your next consultant, and maybe this will be one of the next projects in line that they'll help pass through and get 4-laned. But as part of that, when the master plan or the developer's agreement was approved, 34 additional feet is being dedicated from this property along Hills Road, our eastern side, Hills Road western side, which will allow Hills Road to be a 100-foot right-of-way. We've already taken that into account. So you see Hills Road, the pavement, you see there's some trees there. That's the additional 34 feet that'll be dedicated. It currently shows 20 feet because that's what the agreement said. The developer's agreement is 20 feet. Planning board said 30, so therefore we'll increase that to 30. Another thing that we have the opportunity, since the wall, instead of putting it on the buffer line, we're going to put the wall 30 feet in so the landscaping can be installed and enjoyed by the neighbors. You're going to do landscaping within the right of way anyway. But within that, we can have an opportunity, since we have to dig this pool, we're going to have some excess fill material, is that we can actually take and build a berm within the 30 feet. It can come up 3 to 1, come slope and come down, and all that planting can be created on that buffer. So the vegetation is not only at grade, it'll be probably 4 to 5 feet up in height as the vegetation will start. That will help mitigate some of the noise, lighting, anything of that nature. Once this facility's operation, they'll employ probably 80 employees during the peak season. The starting time, what they want to do is about from 6 to 10 in the mornings. It's kind of the wellness for our local surfers, have them an opportunity to come in. You don't get surf here a whole lot. When you do, it's rough conditions. But this will allow anyone, some people go to the gym, some run, some do different wellness activities. We have a lot of surfing community here. I think you'll hear some later. This is an opportunity for them. This is their gym. They'll have an opportunity to come first thing in the morning. Facility's not operational, restaurant's not open. That'll start at about 10 in the morning. To go on until the operations will cease at 10 per the agreement that was in the condition. Parking, again, being mindful of the neighborhood. You see the blue, that's the pool area, the yellow behind it, that's the machinery, the pumps that are inside that are enclosed within a structure. Behind that, that's a small area for employee parking, emergency vehicles, that way they could access the pool from the backside. But all of the parking, about 200 spaces or so, all on the west side towards Topgolf, all the loading, trash, dumpsters, everything is located as far away from any residential that we can get. Probably the largest concern that we had during the meetings, during the planning board discussions, obviously traffic, lighting, noise. I think that's something that we hear on every single development. Traffic is here. We already know the traffic is here. But this allows us to take advantage of some of that traffic, give them a good, clean, wholesome opportunity to come to a facility of this nature that's family-oriented, get some of those cars we're hoping to capture to come into this development. The new roundabout that was built, the interconnectivity between Hills, Powell Adams allows cars to freely move between. We all know Hills Road needs to be 4-lane. That is a bottleneck now. We are very well aware of it. We can't control Hills Road. That's a decision that y'all will make when that gets 4-laned. Whether this gets approved or not, a development is going to occur here. There's 78 acres of commercial high-intensity property. So whether it's 3 to 5 restaurants on this site, hotels, motels, something is going to get developed here. But we think with this quality development, with a pool, the orientation away from the neighborhood is the best use of this facility. Probably investing upwards of $80 million in this, so this is not a cheap endeavor. Lighting, all the lighting will be LED lights. They'll be shielded. You're familiar with the way y'all do lighting now with your sports parks and everything else. There's a way you can control the light, make it go how you want it. We're going to divert all that lighting away from the development. As you heard as one of the conditions, speakers. We're not going to allow anyone, you go to other facilities, you can't bring in speakers. They're not bringing in boom boxes or portable radios. We control, we as in Warren and his staff, they control this development on how much music is there. It's low level. It can't be high level music. They're not going to be amplified speakers. These guys are here to surf, guys and girls. I apologize. They're not here to jam out, to rock out. This is their sport. So they're here to have a good time, have fun. But again, we're trying to create a controlled environment. This facility can also be used for lifeguard training. We got a chance to create waves. Our lifeguards can come at this controlled facility, learn how to react, how to work with waves. It's an opportunity that we can have veterans come in for veteran therapy. This is a therapeutic facility. Again, we can fill this up with hotels, motels, all kinds of activity. But again, we're trying to be mindful, put a good, wholesome development for everyone to enjoy. The tourists are going to continue to come. Let's give them an opportunity to have a great facility to enjoy, to brag about, to go back. Again, high-intensity commercial zoning. This is a low-impact development. We've done all that we can to get everything to shield away, intense landscaping, minimal lighting. I think it's something that you'd be proud of. I think that pretty much you've seen the staff report. We had unanimous approval from the planning department, or planning department recommended approval, planning staff, planning board approved it. We've met, in our opinion, all the conditions, but we're here to answer any questions. I know there will be some from the audience, but. And I've got a few slides. I apologize. I know you were getting ready to ask questions, Mayor. But that's kind of the facility here. You can see the wave pool. The machinery is what's in the back, enclosed in the concrete structures. Good, wholesome fun. The allowable height to 65 feet. We have one 2-story structure. Everything else is 1 story. So you're not going to have 6-story buildings filling this facility up. As you see, there's the 1 2-story structure. Very, very high-end development.
Okay. Yeah, if you can get him back to the second slide. Oh, back there.
I don't know how to restart it.
Let IT drive it.
There we go.
Yeah.
That one there?
Yep, that one there. So, reviewed a number of the concerns, particularly from the residents, and we're going to have an opportunity to talk to them.
Whoa,
all right.
Nice.
We approving a movie theater too, or?
That was not part of our presentation.
I know. Be careful, some of the council may go to sleep during this.
That was the lighting demonstration. So.
One of the concerns mentioned was drainage. Can you address, how are you going to address drainage? I know it's a large pool, and it is in your application, but can you speak to the drainage?
Yes, sir. So as part of the master plan, it does not show up here, but where Topgolf is, just south of that is a master stormwater management facility. It's already been constructed. It's basically a big lake, and it has been master planned, hold the 100-year critical event of the entire 78 acres. Just north of Topgolf, that's another stormwater management facility that services the Walmart development. You basically have Walmart, a very large stormwater management facility, Topgolf, and then a big lake, which is for all of this. It's been designed for the entire 78 acres. All of our water will be discharged towards that lake, and then it makes its way out towards the Gulf, but nothing is going away from this site.
Okay, so you guys spent a lot, or the property owner spent a lot of work on that pool, I've noticed.
Oh, yes, sir. The infrastructure's in, all the inlets are in, piping, mainly whatever development comes in just needs to connect to the stub outs.
Okay. One of the comments I saw that it did strike me about the noise. I was there at your presentation. There was a comment of, what is it, 50 decibel ambient?
56, I think it is, yes, sir.
56 ambient. The resident mentioned that how can it be quieter than the Gulf, and then measured some of the noise at the Gulf up to 70. So how do you guys achieve that?
So we're not planning on the 8-foot wall, so having the 8-foot wall is going to help contain a lot of that noise. Then also on the outside of the berm, having the higher trees and vegetation, that will also be a sound attenuator. The machinery, it's an enclosed concrete structure, so there are noise mitigators that can be added to it if there was a noise issue. Prior to the development, we'll have to do sound readings. Anytime if there were a complaint, you have a very strict noise ordinance that we'll have to abide by. I mean, we can't operate if we're not working within the noise restraints that the city has set up.
Okay. And speak a little bit more on the hours of operation. That 6 to 10, that was also a frequent concern of, especially that 6 a.m. part.
So 6 a.m., that's more for the intention of that is the local surfers. Give them an opportunity. A lot of them get out and get on the water, go for a swim or surf prior to going to work, and that's what the intent is here. If they start this and they get 2-3 guys show up, then they'll probably back that off and start later. But the intent, the facility itself, the restaurant and where the real operations doesn't start until 10. But the intent is for these guys to get out and get in the pool and surf. There's not speakers, there's not noise playing. It's literally turning the machines on to allow them to create surf and to wave, create waves to surf.
Okay. Any questions? No, thank you.
Construction timeline, roughly, Robert, do you have a rough idea how long it takes to build it?
So they would not start until probably the first of next year, am I correct? Yeah. Construction time is probably 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
It's a big pool.
Figured, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And obviously one of the concerns is traffic. You did indicate and kind of breezed by it, but I wanted to allow you to give some more color on the fact that the property owner has actually indicated they would give space for those additional lanes.
Oh, yes, sir. That's part of the agreement. I brought it with me. I mean, it was in 2020. It was prior to some of y'all being on the council. But that agreement from 98 all the way down the property that they own, 34 feet dedicated to Panama City Beach. 66 feet is too tight to put 4-lane roads in. So if you go to the other roadways, you need 100 feet to get at your drainage, your lighting. And there's going to be more landscaping installed with that. If you look at all the other 4-way roadways that have done, it'll do the same thing. So that allows the room for Hills Road, so therefore there's no right-of-way acquisition on the city's half. That's already part of the dedication. The roundabout's constructed, the access to 98's constructed, the interconnectivity Powell Adam, which is allowing that cross-traffic for people to move. The average stay, I mean, you're going to be at this facility probably 4 to 6 hours. I mean, this is not something that people are not coming in, picking up their hamburger and going to the next place. I mean, this is not a fast food restaurant. This is something for you to sit, enjoy, learn how to surf, fall, have a good time. But it's not intended to be, a high turnover.
Yeah, and I noticed that a decent amount of the parking Almost all the parking other than the staff parking and the emergency access is internal?
Yes, sir. So on the rear of, I'll go to the next slide. So if you can see along Hills Road, that little back area, that is just staff parking there. Everybody else is going to come in through the roadways roundabout and park in the parking lot adjacent to Topgolf.
Okay.
So the majority of your traffic is coming in the roundabout through the parking area. All the loading, trash trucks, deliveries, all of that is handled on that side, not on Hills Road.
Okay. Councilmember.
How many parking spaces do you anticipate having for the employees?
In the back there, you've got enough room for probably 40.
Okay. And will that be controlled in any way to ensure that the public doesn't pull in there and try to park?
We'll have signage, yes, ma'am. Yeah, we don't want that to be the public parking lot, because to get in, you have to come in all the way on the other side. So they'd be walking all the way around. So yes, ma'am, we would put employees only signage.
Okay, yeah, people get lost.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Our visitors get lost?
Occasionally, yeah.
Just once or twice? If you could go back one slide.
Testing my skills here.
Now forward, no, I'm sorry. I noticed also you have an access road coming straight from 98, right? So
The developer put that
the
in, yes, sir.
developers put it.
That's already installed. We did
That's
not
already
place
installed.
that.
So the intent is Hills Road is not the major access to this?
It's from everywhere, wherever the visitors are. You know, if dad wants to play at Topgolf and mom and the kids go surf, or vice versa, I mean, you've got an opportunity with shared facilities. You could, from the adjacent neighborhood, you know, that's close enough where they could walk there, take the golf cart there. They will come from every direction, from Front Beach, Back Beach, Hills.
Okay. That's all I have.
Yes,
Councilmember?
one more thing. I appreciate your comment that you're not going to allow boom boxes, so you're not going to allow people to bring their own music in. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have a problem with that being included in the conditions? Well, I trust you guys.
Sure.
You never know what's going to happen down the
Absolutely.
road, or if
We are all under
management
oath here, so
changes.
yes,
We
ma'am.
want to make sure that we don't have any noise wars.
Sure.
Okay.
I have one question for you, Robert. You've been an engineer instead of bringing mail up here. I know this is going to come up, this being commercial property, high intensity. What are some of the other things over the years that you've built on, or what can be built here besides this?
I mean, so typical restaurant is anywhere between 1.5. We're doing a Ruby Tuesday restaurant now. I don't know if they wanted me to publicly announce that, but we are getting a Ruby Tuesday. It's at the corner there next to Longhorns. That's about 1.7 acres. So hotel, you're going to be, today's hotels are 100-plus rooms, so that typically takes 2.5 acres. So you're looking at, you could put 3 hotels, a couple of restaurants. I mean, there's a lot of intensity that you could put on here, which are all high-traffic drivers.
The height of the hotels, how high could they go?
65 feet, that's the height.
And you guys are not going more than 2 floors?
2 stories is all that we're doing, yes, sir. And the 65 feet is measured at the ceiling of the highest habitable, so the structure is actually taller.
Right.
That's what's allowed. Now, most of the hotels that we see are all 4 stories, typically that are in this area, just because they can be stick-built. To go 6 feet on a hotel typically would be Gulf, something with a larger view. But it can be done. I mean, take advantage of the 65 feet.
But high intensity, it doesn't get any higher than that.
Oh, no, sir. And then impervious surface ratio, because of the water body that we have, I mean, we are just minimal of what's allowed there.
That's right. Okay, that's all.
All right. Anything else?
I have one more question, but I think it's more directed toward Mel.
Okay.
It is the applicant.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
When you were looking at this project and looking at the driveway for the employee parking, and then it kind of shows on there where the driveway is, I'm not sure that's the actual driveway for the apartments that they're building. Is there going to be enough space in there because you're going to have residents from the apartments exiting onto Hill as well as the employees? Or are we going to cause a conflict there?
Well, and when they submit their plans for a development order, Public Works will look at that for the driveway permit to try to make those things line up as much as possible so you don't have conflicting movements for it. I I don't know that the drawing, the depiction accurately showed exactly where the driveway will be, but it's going to be somewhere in that area. But I can guarantee through the permit for the driveway itself that they're going to look at the turning movements to make sure that they line up so that we don't have the conflicts.
Okay, because I see potentially we have a lot of cars coming in and exiting, unless those apartments have another ingress and egress other than coming out on Hill.
They eventually will have more, but that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
And to Councilman Casto's question to Mr. Carroll, for CH, I mean, my impression is the commercial industry here sees the need for amusements. And so if there's CH zoned property, something's gonna go on those. What about nightclubs? Could nightclubs go on those?
It could, but that would be a conditional use as well, so it would go through the same process this is going through. Unless it's under 3 acres, then it would be just a planning board decision.
Okay, so it'd be a planning board decision for the nightclub, okay?
Yes.
So it's really talking about restaurants or small hotels or, yeah.
Big box stores,
Little big
yes.
box stores.
Yes, you could also do medical offices, car washes, kennels, parking garage, schools, mini warehouse.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you.
One more question.
Oh, I spoke too soon.
I believe when I was going through here, I saw something that there would be another review if the plans changed, or maybe that's my question I wrote. If the plans change significantly, will there be another review of this, and what threshold would that be?
Yes, absolutely. The Land Development Code has a section in Chapter 10 that speaks to changes of an approved plan, and it gets tripped pretty quickly. I mean, if you change the parking, you change the landscaping, you change the number of stories on a building, the amount of impervious surface, it will trip having to go back through the planning board. It'll be the same procedure through the planning board and then back up to the city council to look at that change, that proposed change.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
At this point, we're going to hear from any affected party who wants to speak. It's a little bit different than normal public comment. We're going to ask you to come up and state your name and address for the record. So at this point, we will hear from any affected parties who wish to speak.
Good evening. My name is Philip Cope, and I reside at 207 Summerwood Drive. And I've been a resident of Summerwood for 24 years. And when I bought my property here, I anticipated progress. But I do want to express my concern about this proposed surf park, complete with an outdoor venue near our subdivision. Now, you know venues have loud music, and we can already hear music from Aaron Bessett Park and Sharkey's, like Thunder Beach last week, very loud in our neighborhood. And on April the 9th, the planning board voted to pass the variance law. It's worth noting that the city already had a variance law in place, which was overridden to accommodate the surf park. During this meeting, the engineer asserted that no other site was suitable for development of this kind. But I must disagree. There's ample land surrounding areas in our community that could host this park without encroaching our community. The close proximity of this development to our subdivision raises significant concerns about our increase in noise and traffic, which are not welcome. Typically, a variance is granted when there's a hardship. Yet, this was not addressed during the meeting. During the planning board meeting, Chairman Joshua Weinstein suggested that another type of business, such as a hotel with outdoor speakers and music, could operate on the same property without a variance. This argument seems flawed to me because since hotels rarely feature large outdoor music systems, because this would deter their guests. And additionally, Hills Road is not scheduled for upgrades until 5 years from now. With this proposed development, traffic along this road will likely worsen, backing up to the red light at Panama City Beach Parkway. Residents are concerned that vehicles will cut through our neighborhood, causing traffic issues. We simply do not need more traffic in our neighborhood. If after all consideration is done, if you, mayor, and council members decide to approve this large land use proposal, I urge you to mandate that the surf park owners pay for and install traffic arms at the Hills Road entrance. This would permit residents to navigate smoothly while allowing public access from the front entrance. And although the city currently maintains our roads, public access at the front entrance would still enable the ongoing municipal maintenance to happen. And we desire preservation of our community's peace and integrity, and I hope you will take this in account when you make your decision. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cope. Further affected parties, please come up and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Teddemer, council members. My name's Stanley Stefancic. I live at 227 Summerwood Drive. I've been there a little over 20 years. I'd like to echo a few things that Mr. Cope just said. In particular, y'all need to be talking about this 1,000-foot setback for amusement from residential neighborhoods. I'm surprised that there's no discussion about that, and I hope there is. And why Summerwood is an exception. Why is Summerwood different? I think that if y'all pass this, which the planning board had no problem giving them a 900-foot variance from this 1,000-foot setback for amusement, that's preposterous in my opinion. And I think it needs to be explained. I was at the planning board meeting. They never explained, or excuse me, they never gave explanations for our concerns whatsoever. It was just ran over, and there was an insinuation that this amusement with this extremely loud machinery is going to be as loud as a hotel or a restaurant. I also am going to say that's preposterous. I've worked with a lot of engineers. I'm a retired Air Force officer, worked with several building projects in excess of $10 million. Worked with a lot of civil engineers, very good ones. They didn't make unsubstantiated statements like Mr. Carroll just did. He didn't echo the statements he made. I'm gonna repeat a few quotes that he made in the planning board. Mr. Carroll said that this would be, quote, very quiet, end quote. Find another one he said here. And he said it would also be, quote, low noise, end quote, with no substantiation whatsoever. I'd also like to challenge him on substantiating the trees. How much is each tree going to mitigate a decibel of noise? Is this machinery, this wave generating machinery, in excess of 8 feet tall that a fence is going to mitigate noise about? Isn't there a wall being constructed on Back Beach Road next to Summerwood to mitigate noise? How tall is that wall and what's the construction material? I offer that for you as a comparison. I'm not really opposed to the project. I see both sides of this. I'm opposed to that heavy machinery. I'd ask for that slide to be brought up again. Y'all look where they place this heavy machinery and the size of it. It's certainly taller than 8 feet tall. I encourage you to ask questions or challenge these unsubstantiated comments made by Mr. Carroll. They're ridiculous. Why is Summerwood different? Why are we being treated different? Why was that 900, are y'all gonna go along with granting a 900-foot variance, letting an amusement and deeply or high potential to affect our quality of life? And, but I'm opposed to the machinery being in place where it is. That's the problem. Our biggest concern is the noise. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I encourage you to vote appropriately in opposition because of that 1,000-foot rule.
Thank you.
1,000-foot rule.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stefancic. Guys, please, please. IT, I would ask, before anyone else comes up, IT, if you could bring up, I think, the second slide so that folks can reference it. That was a good idea, Mr. Stefancic. Yeah, that second slide. One more. That one. Okay. Okay. Further affected parties.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I am an affected party because I live within the 1,000-foot variance. I'm a Summerwood resident at 119 Sandalwood Lane.
And could you state your name, ma'am?
Pardon?
State your name, please.
Yvonne Trainum. And I am strongly supporting this project. So not everybody at Summerwood is against the project.
Please, no clapping.
I'm
right.
a lifelong, I'm raised in the Panhandle, 4th generation, lifelong surfer. This is a really positive thing. And I know there's some concerns. However, I've been to a surf park before. I've surfed at the Waco Surf Park on more than one occasion. It's very high quality. It's low density. It's mainly for surfers and athletes. It's a really positive thing. So I had submitted in writing my comments that hopefully is part of the packet. That says, I've been to a surf park. It's very positive, has a lot of good things in general. However, from a Summerwood standpoint, as we're affected, there's also some positives. I was very dismayed on how they cleared this land. And they built it up several feet. They have the retention pond. However, one of the positives about this is that this is going to be helpful for drainage. In other words, it's not a surface source of surface runoff. It's actually a sink. This is a 3-acre pool. The retention pond that's designed for the whole site is on the west side. This is on the Summerwood side, and so it's not something that flows out. It would actually flow down. So this is positive from a drainage standpoint. It also, I think the layout is well done, is that the way the fact that the parking is on the opposite side, and that I think it will often be accessed not just from Hills Road, but also from the Topgolf side. And the restaurant and other activities are also laid out so that it minimizes the impact. It's also a much lower density than what could go here. We have a lot of tacky stuff in Panama City. I'm just going to say it. We got a lot of tacky stuff. This is not tacky. This is high end, and it's going to be that these wave pools are only being developed in the last few years. They're world class. When I go to Waco, they have people fly in from Hawaii, from Florida, from all over the world, literally, and it's low density. It's not like a typical water park. Like I say, I had highlighted I gave my reasons in the documentation, but this is a very positive thing. I'll be out there at 6 in the morning for sure, as a local resident, to try to get some surf in. It's a safe, consistent waves to be able to attract locals as well as people who are from out of town.
Thank you, ma'am.
And from a lifeguard standpoint,
Thank you,
sorry.
ma'am.
So
Okay.
you have my comments.
All right, thank you. Further comment from affected parties?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Michael Matthews. I live at 91 Sandalwood Court in Summerwood subdivision. I'm here with my wife to avoid strong opinion or opposition to the conditional use for the Shell Point Surf Club. I am concerned, if you read the packet, about the noise. I gave actual decibels for what the sound is in my backyard, because your ordinance states that there will be no effect to the ambient sound. Like previous mentioned, nobody has said what the ambient sound is. It was just a statement of, oh, it won't happen, but they did give the sound of what they're producing, which is above what the ambient stuff I put in the letter. So I'm not going to go through that. I just got a statement, and I'll read it. While the development can bring benefits, it must not come to the expense of our neighborhood, our quality of life, and the laws and rules that are meant to protect us. This amusement activity, as proposed, raises serious concern about the excess, persistent noise that would directly impact the surrounding residents. An 8-foot acoustic barrier simply is not enough to mitigate the noise from a 2-story restaurant, surf wave pool that's supposed to create a 6-foot wave on its own. If you look at the rendering, it actually had an overlook, so you could watch. So there's an overlook that's not ground level, so above 6 foot is not enough to mitigate that sound. Could it be better? Yes. Design, let's look at the facts, but none of that has been put forth. Furthermore, the proposed operating hours, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I like to have coffee in my backyard. You know, they're talking about, oh, you know, that's my happy place with the birds chirping. But 6 o'clock, the pool's going to be going. So, I mean, this extreme time can cause a disruption to the family and the natural soundscapes from dawn to after dark. If the council chooses to pass this conditional use request, I ask, who will be responsible for ensuring compliance with the noise ordinance, especially during early morning or late night hours when code enforcement is not operating? Does this responsibility fall to the residents? I mean, I'll take it on if you want to. If the shift of burden is on the community, then this would potentially place additional strains on the city's police resources because they're the ones you're supposed to call when code enforcement isn't available on the weekends, after hours, 4 hours. So, and they probably aren't, you know, we don't want that. I'm up, but anyway, I urge you not to do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Further comment from affected parties?
Yes, sir. I'm Dak Davis at 92 Sandalwood Court, the southernmost house in the picture there. So there's not a property more affected than mine. I'm concerned about the noise. I'm big on the berm, and I like it's a nice gesture. I'd like to be the berm a little bit bigger if I can. I like the berm that's there now, if you cannot touch it, but I don't know if that'll happen. And I understand the argument of the devil you know versus the devil you don't. But I know there's going to be, I'm assuming, surf competitions, and I've been to surf competitions, and they're fun, and fun is loud. So I'm a little bit worried if they're going to have extra speakers or how that whole thing will work with that. I don't know if anybody's said or not. Also, the 6 a.m. stuff, awesome. I like sleep on Saturdays. So is there going to be something put in there for where it's like, oh, we're going to let them know at 6, but then at some point it's like, hey, I'm getting woke up every morning at 6. I'm not saying it will happen, but what are we going to do if it does? So how can something like that be put in there that, hey, I'm a little bit inconvenienced. What'll it take to where we can shift those hours when that does happen? That's going to be kind of my main thing. The berm. I mean, I'll take all I can get. If you can build a mountain, build it. But I mean, I'd like to have a little more than just the 4 feet, so I don't have to hear it, especially when the competitions come. That's when the loudness happens. So I guess that's all I got to say about that. I'll probably go back to my chair and then want to run up and say reclaim my time like they do on TV. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay, further comments from affected parties?
Hi, my name is Sandia Hampton. I live at 115 Sandalwood Lane. I have been a resident, my late husband and I, for almost 21 years. I'm going to try not to repeat what everybody else has said. I think you get a flavor for how we all feel, or most of us. I am not opposed to this at all. I am totally opposed to it in its current location where it's going in. One of the things that I cherish every morning for 20 years is my front porch, my cup of coffee, and the birds. And there's going to be an interference there, and that's not right. We have a lot of families in our neighborhood, little bitty toddlers, babies in strollers. I wished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6 of you, Mr. Carroll included, could come stay for 7 days and just see the traffic that comes through with those of us who live there. Traffic meaning the babies, the toddlers, the families. Why am I bringing all this up? Because we're going to have traffic. We all know that. Hills Road, if Philip Cope, I think he said it was going to be 5 years before it goes into double lane. It's hard now. It's hard now. And so you're going to have people going through, and we're going to have disasters. And that's not fair to us. I don't think if any of you lived where we live that you would want this next door, if you have to be honest with yourselves. Mr. Carroll mentioned wholesome enjoyment for the community. What about a walking park? That's wholesome enjoyment. That's for the entire community. Why not quit being so greedy and try to start doing things for the locals. Locals first. You know, we live here all year long, and we would just like to be remembered. And I want to thank Mayor Tettemar because he ran on that campaign, and he's doing a lot for our community. And I want to thank him for doing that, so thank you. I think that's it. I'm totally opposed to it. I would ask that you would look for land elsewhere, and I thank you for listening to me, and good evening.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Further comment from affected parties?
My name is Christy Watley. I'm at 220 Summerwood Drive, and the man that said that he was the closest, I'm the next closest because I'm his neighbor. There is a lot of things that have already been addressed. Just to add a little to that, as far as the noise, I am concerned about the mechanical noise for the pools and it being in such close proximity, 100 foot. But that's not all the noise that's going to represent this area. You know, I'm still concerned about the cabanas. I mean, anyone, I was told, can rent these. They can stay however long. I know I did hear today that they couldn't have boom boxes, but I don't, they're going to be for celebration, parties, graduations, whatever. People are not going to be quiet. Just saying. The other man said, when it's fun, it's loud. It was said about the restaurants could come in here and be potentially loud. Well, we're going to have restaurants here. And we're going to have the traffic that comes in with those restaurants. I think at the last meeting, they questioned how many the restaurant could hold, and it was iffy, maybe 200, but it still wasn't conclusive. I know that there's another area as far as fast food kind of stuff. I know there'll be alcohol at the restaurants and available for the cabanas. I mean, I'm not opposed necessarily, but that usually means elevation and noise. And then as well as someone inquiring about these noise levels. One person stated what they were because he had looked it up. So what happens if this does go over? You know, we're going to have a hotline here that we just call and say, oh, they're over. You know, I mean, we shouldn't have to police this. And then what? Who's going to get in touch with who to say, okay, y'all need to lower it down? I have been at Summerwood at this address since 2000 as well. I can remember when I raised my daughter and she had a radio, not even a boombox, a radio at our pool.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I was called on noise ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Further comments from affected parties?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Phil Lehman. I live at 210 Summerwood Drive. My main concern is the traffic on Hill Street because there are two entrances or two exits to Summerwood, but one of them is on the Parkway. So it's not safe to try to turn left to go westbound. That means Hill Street is our access to get westbound. And a lot of the residents use that because it's just difficult to turn left on the Parkway. So considering the apartments, the Topgolf, and the traffic, all of these are going to add in the coming year, I just see a big potential for a lot of traffic and backups. And we have that's our way to get west. So I'm anticipating a lot of challenges there. And if it is going to be 5 years, that's a long time to wait for improvements. So I hope that'll be considered in whatever is done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, further comments from affected parties?
Good evening, Bob Mallowan, 206 Summerwood Drive. I pretty much second everything that my fellow residents have said thus far. I don't personally have anything against the development itself. My main concern is, and I'm looking maybe short-sighted, but the actual process of developing it. We just went through a process in the neighborhood when they cleared that entire city block. And the burning, the soot, the ash, I sent emails to everyone here about that. I talked to many people in the city, county, state, and my biggest concern, in addition to the traffic, in the near term at least, is the actual development of that property. They're going to be removing a lot of dirt. That's a lot of dump trucks. They're going to be putting in a lot of concrete. That's a lot of concrete trucks. And Hill Road right now is difficult to travel on as it is, particularly with summer coming and when tourists are in town. So it's only going to exacerbate the situation. And I think that that needs to be taken into account when you're looking at the development of something like this at the site. My own experience recently is in September, October, when they cleared this property, is that the soot, the dust, the dirt, and the ash didn't stop until they were finished burning. Despite all the calls, the mayor, I give you credit, and I appreciate you coming out to take a look at it yourself, but it didn't solve the problem. When the winds came from the south-southwest, our neighborhood was inundated with dirt, dust, ash, soot, and I'm just concerned that we're going to deal with the same thing over and over again. So no one addressed that yet, so I wanted to make sure we brought that up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Merlin. Further comments from affected parties?
Patricia Northrup, 91 Windridge Lane, right in Summerwood. And my biggest concern is the Hills Road problem and coming in that side entrance. Use it every day, 3 or 4 times a day. And when the traffic backs up there, it's brutal. They don't even let us out on Hills Road, let alone, and you can't go left or right. And that's going to get worse and worse because there's going to be a lot more traffic. I understand they're showing a road going out from the roundabout to Back Beach, which would be an entrance also for them. If that's true, they did a little patch, but they haven't done the road. If that's true, then they won't have to use Hills Road. Maybe we can alleviate a little bit of the traffic so that they're not coming in on Hills Road into the roundabout. But the major thing is getting in and out. Hills Road is a disgrace now, and now they're saying 5 more years before it's widened. We'll never get in and out of the project ever again, because you can't go out on Back Beach with all of you can't go left. So you can't use the front entrance unless you're going right and towards the bridge. So that's the major concern, because I get stuck in that traffic, and I can toot and do whatever, and they just look at you like, sorry, and they do nothing. The traffic is disgusting. So that's the worst thing, I think, is the traffic. If they do something so that the people also coming in don't cut through ours, because they will run over the kids, that's for sure. They don't cut through our project, that would help, at least a little bit. So let's see what we can do on that and see what they're willing to do to give us something on our side entrance so we can use it again. Sure would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Northrup.
My name is Linda Cope, and I live at 207 Summerwood Drive. Have been there for 24 years with my wonderful husband and our family. I think the surf park is a great idea, but not there. You are giving them that easement that was in there that should be wider, 1,000 foot. We're a subdivision. How many here would want this in their backyard? You know, I like to go out, hear the birds sing, and hear the waves. And they're talking about the sound mitigation, but I just don't think that's going to work. I think, why don't you find another location for something this loud that's not right by a subdivision? And it's a place of peace for us. And we don't want that to be disturbed. Again, I think it's a great idea. I think my son that got injured in Iraq would love it to go out there and surf, but not right there, you know. And there's other areas with that much land, I believe, on the beach they could use. And our big concern is the noise. And again, if any of y'all live there and would hear it from 6 to 10 at night, you know, I already know one resident that's moving because of this coming in. And we live very close to it. And, you know, we're on this earth for such a short time, and we need to work as good neighbors to each other for what we do. And as a family that's been touched by tragedy, we know the importance of a place of peace. And if that's going to be disturbed from 6 in the morning to 10 at night, and I feel like they're going to do all they can to help that, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I really ask that you consider denying this for them to build it somewhere else, because I don't want to move from my subdivision because of something being put in that's going to be a problem. And on top of the traffic. Traffic, I mean, to me, it's like you're building the airport without the runways. You've got these things coming in, and that rule was passed during the pandemic where we never went to a meeting about them putting stuff up on that Hills Road. I think that should be addressed so we could have community input, because they voted on what was going in there during the pandemic where we couldn't come. But consider us. Consider your family, your children, your grandchildren, how they would be affected by that noise living there and the traffic, for safety reasons for us that live in Summerwood. And like my husband said, if they're going to do something, put an arm there on Hills Road for safety. But I really hope you do oppose it for us as a community that we've lived here so long. And of course, this area is going to develop. It is a vacation destination, which is great. But we need to think of the locals that live here also. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate having a mayor that ran on putting locals first.
Thank you, Ms. Cope. Further comments by affected parties?
Molly Allen, 16211 East Lowwater Drive. It's my understanding that this will drain into a lake, that drains into a lake, that drains into a lake, that goes out to the Gulf. I want to give the person building an opportunity to explain where that drain will go out into the Gulf. And then I'd also like to find out if this 3 acres, when it drains and in storm events, if this additional 3 acres has been applied to the swim model, because that's the model they used when they approved the outfall project, which hits the low water basin. I live on Lowwater Lake. If the outfall fails, and it can, it's not proven that it can't, and that lake gets blocked up, that coastal dune lake, and an additional 3 acres is added to our basin, will my house flood? I could be wrong, I could be shooting for the stars, but I would just like to give the builder an opportunity to talk about the drainage one more time and where it ultimately goes, and if the swim model's been applied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Further comments by affected parties? Okay. Seeing none. Can we take a break?
Sure, of course.
Yeah. Let's take a 5-minute break before we get to public comment, if that's all right with everyone. Yeah? They get up, stretch your legs a little bit, we'll come back. All right.
How are you doing?
Good,
I
how you
like your
doing?
socks.
Thank you. I always wear festive socks.
Give everyone one more minute to kind of get settled down, and then we'll get. At this time, we will take public comment. So any public comments, so that we've already done the affected parties, is there any public comments from the general public? We do ask that you have been sworn in, right? Earlier. And just come up, state your name. I don't think we need you to state your address.
Hi, my name is Kevin La Liberté. I want to thank you on behalf of everyone for that 5-minute break. I think we all needed that. I live at 74 Pine Lake Drive. I served in the Air Force and the Space Force for 23 years, retired as a Chief Master Sergeant, and more recently and more importantly for our local communities, I founded and now serve as the Executive Director of the Surf Brigade Foundation, which is a surf therapy program for veterans here on the Emerald Coast. It's the only one we have here. And I want to say that everybody's concerns here are reasonable, and people will certainly have fun in this park and surf and learn new things, but this park is also going to serve as a location for surf therapy for military veterans. It's also going to serve as a place where families can bring their loved ones with special needs to surf in a low-risk environment. It's also going to be somewhere people who are navigating addiction can go to stave off those urges for one more surf session, one more day. And it's where kids will go to learn how to surf and maybe change their whole life because of it. And so I want to encourage all the community members who are here on both sides of the room to look across their neighborhoods, look across their families, because chances are everybody does have a veteran in their family. They have kids in their family. They might have someone with special needs in their family or someone that's navigating addiction. And I hope that they look at this park as a place that they can go and get support that they need as well. And so my hope is that this whole community is out there surfing together. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? And again, we ask that you have been sworn in.
Hello, my name is Jason Tuno, lifelong Panama City resident, born and raised. Over the course of my life, we have had a lack of, I don't want to say support of board sports, but with this new wave of the addition of these new skate parks as well, having something like this wave park creates so much more opportunity for people to learn, like he just stated. You know, it's a much safer environment. It's away from rip currents, rip tides, any native wildlife that could be harmful to people. And if you look at this group of people behind me, you'll see that it is a very eclectic group of people. We have marine construction, professional musicians, photographers such as myself. Being out in the lineup on the beach it's a very interesting feeling to be, you know, just viewed as another person, you know. It's a great business opportunity. You can, you know, very similar to the golf course, you can talk business, you can meet new people, and I myself have gotten much, you know, a lot of new business just talking to other people in the lineup. It's obviously good for our tourism, bringing in other people, other surfers, families, you know, focusing on the family aspect and, you know, getting away from maybe some unfortunate past things that our cities had to deal with. You know, the surf community is a very respectful, very careful community. These people behind me would give you the shirt off their back or the leash off their leg. It's a wonderful community to be a part of, and I hope that you guys will vote to allow this project to happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jenna. Further public comment?
Hi, my name's Ford Sues, 3711 Benbow Street. I was born and raised in Panama City, been surfing since I was 14. And I think that surfing is, just kind of like Jason said, he was actually my 5th grade student, believe it or not. And I've reconnected with him through surfing and skateboarding. He was just at the demo for the new skate park, which all thanks to y'all for letting that go through. It was just, I'm so stoked to see these kids out there skating today. I'm so stoked on the other skate park over by Publix Sports Complex. Just to have 3 skate parks in our county has just been such a blessing, reconnecting, teacher and student. And like Jason says, the surf park, it would be so awesome for local surfers. I think it would be a boon not just for tourism, but a low-impact kind of tourism, like has been mentioned before, where there's less people coming in and out. There's people are coming for the day. People are coming to enjoy it for a period of time. But I hope you will give some consideration to this. I just think it's going to be a real boon, not just for tourists, but also for locals. And I want to thank you for your consideration. There has been some expression of if it were in your neighborhood, would you want it to happen? Now, obviously, for a surfer, I would want it to happen. So it's kind of unfair for me to answer that question. But the planning board, Josh Wakestein, he brought up the fact that he was very close to Shipwreck. And Shipwreck does make some noise. And he says when he hears the horn go off that makes the waves at the Shipwreck water park, he just knows that kids are playing, and he finds it nice. It's just a pleasant thing, like, oh, wow. And that's something that he hears every day. And that's the head of the planning board. And so I think this is not going to have that horn sound. This is going to be the sound of nice, low waves. The decibel rating is rated under 60, which I looked up HVACs for restaurants are about 60. So an air conditioner makes about as much noise as this. That's what the claim is from the manufacturer. So please consider this, and I think it will be a boon for locals and tourists alike. Show of hands, who would?
No.
Can't do that? Okay, sorry. Sorry. Thank you for your consideration.
Maybe you should have let him.
None. All right, further public comment? Good try, good try. Further public comment?
Good evening, Warren Casey, born and raised here since 1977. There's just too many positives versus negatives, and I think the main thing that y'all are not really considering is kids and families. We need something to do besides, being on our devices or going to restaurants, going shopping. We need something fun to do, and is safe and good for you versus electronics, which I hate. So just consider the kids and the kids' please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Further public comment? Going once? Oh, well, we got to take her.
Good evening, Tyler Poole, 216 Azalea. Thank you guys for allowing us to speak today. I wanted to speak on the therapeutical aspect of it. I know Kevin touched on it. My stepdaughter, my wife's firstborn, born with spastic cerebral palsy. She's quadriplegic, nonverbal. Although she can't really talk, she can definitely get her point across. And one thing she's made abundantly clear is she loves surfing. I get her out there with me on the board, but it's very few times out of the year that I'm off of work, she's out of school, that conditions line up just right where her mother and I are comfortable getting her out there. So yeah, this park would be perfect. When she's in the water, just in general, she goes to aquatic therapy, she's free from her condition. And when she's riding on a wave, it's insane to watch, just the way she gleams and glows. She's got a whole group of friends, autism, muscle dystrophy, and other kids with cerebral palsy. This would just be incredible for the community, especially for that part of the community. In a controlled environment, we can get them out there on a regular basis. So I just want to speak to that. Not to mention, it's been, or a few comments before, they were mentioning being neighborly. Surfers really do care. We care about the environment, we care about our health, we care about our kids. We're all career-oriented with one common goal, and it would just be incredible for the community. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Poole. All right. Further public comment? Okay. Seeing.
Am I able to say one more thing, or I'm done?
No. You,
Did my 3 minutes.
yeah, you had your time at affected parties. Okay, thank you.
My name is Beth Besant Shaneman, and I am a rec therapist. I don't think anybody in this room would tell you that's a bad thing to have. It's in the wrong place. Y'all are putting big stuff where people live, that have to live there 24/7. We don't go out to that every day. We are not going to go to Dolly Parton every day, but the traffic, the noise, the construction, it is really hard right now to live in Panama City Beach. This place was a wonderful, soft, easy place until they started building condos 35 feet high or stories, hotels, restaurants, bars. Traffic has gotten unbearable. And this is the problem with this. It's not a bad thing. It's in the wrong place. It should be out somewhere where people could go have a time, play some music, a rec therapist, bring anybody who wants to come that can benefit and enjoy it. Don't be afraid you're hurting people's feelings that live a half a block over.
Ma'am, please address us.
I know, I'm sorry. It's very frustrating to watch this beach go from a beautiful beach to a hard place to live day to day. And this is part of the problem. Y'all are building huge things in a small town. Panama City Beach is not, I just moved from Atlanta. I've only lived here 5 years, but I've been in and out of this beach since I was about 6. It is too crowded. It is not Atlanta. It is not Chicago. It is not New York. We've got plenty of people living here. We need to start thinking about those who live here and help people come and have a good time. But everything we build should not make the crowd huge. And for those of us who live here, very difficult. This was a gorgeous beach. And now it's too crowded. And this doesn't need to be in this place. Put it out 79 up in some of the countries. Run a bus out there, do something like that. It's a great place. As a rec therapist, that's a wonderful thing to have. I worked with retarded children for 26 years. That would have been marvelous. So I'm not against it. I'm against where you're putting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Guys, come on. Okay. I shouldn't have given everyone extra time for it. No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Thought we had them there with the public comment. No, we want to hear from everyone. We want to hear from everyone.
Hello, my name's Rachel Hibbard. I did not come here as a surfer. I came here as a member of the public to attend this meeting to learn. And after hearing both sides, I just wanted to voice my opinion as a member of this community. What it sounds like is the main concerns are noise and traffic. And it's very obvious that the people in this neighborhood have the overall concern of noise and traffic. And it sounds like no one has an exact answer as to how much noise this machinery is going to cause. I've been in like a wave pool. I know it's a lot of kids laughing. I don't know how much machinery noise it makes. What I've concluded personally, just in my time sitting here, is that the only way we're going to know how much noise it makes is to compare it to the other surf parks that these people say they've been to. And in the other surf parks, what kind of barriers are they placing around the machinery to conceal the noise? What buffers are in place to conceal the noise? As far as traffic goes, it sounds like the roundabout, the other road, I mean, I'm just saying, from what I've concluded in my time here, things have been pitched because they want the betterment of the members of that community, not because they're trying to make it more of a tourist attraction. It sounds like it's for the locals, as well as betterment of the community. So I did also want to address with the noise, the people who say they want to sip their coffee and enjoy the sound of the birds. Perhaps if that is the case, when they're building this construction, they could sign some agreement to plant more trees. Therefore, your birds and wildlife could stay, and you could enjoy your coffee in your neighborhood, and you wouldn't have to, you know, move, and you could enjoy your neighbors who you've come to know for 20 years. However, you do live in a neighborhood that is right by the highway, so you probably already do hear some honking. That's just what I've observed in my time in this meeting. I did like the idea of the arm entering the neighborhood, maybe a light or somewhere to turn left so they could enter and exit the neighborhood safely. I just wanted to say I'm impartial, but it sounds like the only way to truly know how loud the machinery is going to be is if we can compare it to what's already existing, so someone can give a definite answer. That way we could compare it and have an answer.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Further public comment on this item? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
if he's already presented at affected parties, can he do public comment as well?
I think if you've given your testimony in the aggrieved parties section, everybody is limited to their 3 minutes.
Okay.
We did the planning commission, but I understand. They allowed us twice to planning commission.
I think he's talking about the second.
There will be a rebuttal opportunity.
Yeah, so there is a,
there will be another opportunity.
So there is a rebuttal time, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to rebuttal. This time we'll hear any rebuttal by staff, any affected party, or the applicant. So we're going to start with staff.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to put a copy of this agenda packet into the minutes of the meeting.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. So let's do any affected party? Any rebuttals? I believe there is a couple. Was it?
Okay, sorry, I can go again.
Yeah, so now is the time.
I've heard people speak about helping people with handicaps. My son lost both legs above the knee in Iraq and wounded his hands, and we work with veterans, hundreds and hundreds that have come through here that would definitely benefit from something like this. Because when my son's in the water, it's like he's got all of his parts, you know, he does. But not there. My big thing is the location, again, because of our neighborhood being so close. But I agree with everyone. It is going to be a wonderful thing for people that have handicaps or disabilities, but not right in our backyard. And that's my main concern. Again, I think it's great, but think of the locals. Think of the locals that live here. They're going to hear the noise from 6 in the morning to 10 at night. And I'd rather hear the birds. You know, I'd rather hear the birds out there singing. And again, the traffic issue. I don't know why that wasn't dealt with before. Why weren't they getting Hills Road 4-laned before they did all this other stuff? I see you've got all this roundabout stuff, but we have a lot of traffic on Hills Road. And the bikers, you know, a lot of people there where, again, us that live in the neighborhood can't even get out to take a left, or they give us a hand signal that you don't want to have. You know, you don't go that way. So, you know, again, think of us that live there, and please vote no for us, for our families, our children. When my son comes to visit, he wants some peace. You know, anybody that deals with PTSD or any kind of injuries or anything, they want a quiet place to be. And I don't want them to come visit and they're hearing noise from the time they're here, from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. So I just want to encourage you, please think of us that live there, our children, our grandchildren, for our safety and just the peace of our subdivision. Because it's a good, quiet place to live, you know. So anyway, that's my other 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cope.
Mr. Mayor, is there a set order in which the rebuttal takes place? Because the only reason I ask is because concerns were asked, and I don't know if we want to, if the developer at this point needs to address those concerns.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Go ahead. I'm just.
Yeah, the order is flexible, so if you wanted the applicant to hear all of the points and then address them, but I think it would be within your discretion to decide.
Yeah, I mean, that would.
You know what I'm saying? And then he can address them, and then there's a proper rebuttal for those against.
Yeah, there's actually a closing arguments for the applicant. So yeah, let's pause on rebuttal from the affected parties. And then, yeah.
You're going now.
Yeah, go up. I mean, you heard all the public comment, you heard all the affected parties. Just to summarize, a decent amount. So there's a lot of discussion about the noise, about the traffic, and then there was something about drainage.
Yes, sir. Robert Carroll. First, let's address the drainage. The drawing that you see, back up one, it does not show the master stormwater facility there. It's the big blue that's here, and I'll turn it around if you don't mind if I show the audience.
No, please do.
So the big blue here, that's the master stormwater facility. We were not part of the overall development when this was being master planned. We're only part of this particular project. It's our understanding that the drainage from this goes towards Powell Adams. It makes its way through the pond behind Calypso Towers, and then on the west side of Calypso Towers, there's an outfall there. You can kind of see it between the pier and Calypso. That's where this water outfalls, so it does not make its way to the other side of Pier Park. In regards to traffic, traffic is here. We all know there is traffic here. Creating all these additional access points is what's supposed to help move the traffic. We know that Back Beach, or Panama City Beach Parkway, however long you've been here on how you know what the name of it is, Highway 98 is in the middle of being 6-laned. Those, I believe, were 3-year contracts. We're in year 2, so we're a couple of years out probably, depending on if there's extensions or not of that being completed. 2 out of the 3 legs are in construction, so I understand that the 3rd leg from Richard Jackson to the bridge will be awarded hopefully sometime soon, so that way we'll have a continuous 6-leg from 79 all the way to the Hathaway Bridge. With that being done in the next 2 years is what it's anticipated, we would not, by the time we got approvals, finished financing, developed all the master plans, submitted for permitting, started construction, opening, we wouldn't be open for the next 2 years. So by the time the 6-laning is done, that should help alleviate. It's not going to fix the traffic. I think the level of service of the roadway is still probably going to be close to an F because of the sheer volume that people come to Panama City Beach. So whether this project is developed or not, the traffic is here. The traffic will continue to be here. If this gets denied, another project, or 10 or 20 or however many are going to be developed here. It's master planned for it. There will be other projects. There will be other projects that create traffic. Our development, however, is low intense, and therefore it'll have a lot less impact on a lot of these high PM peak generating traffics. That's our opinion, but you can see the development. I mean, 1/3 of it is water body. It's not filled with square footage for people to populate. They're going to be outside. Still have people there. I'm not denying any of that. Regarding the noise, what I've failed to do is somewhere in here. So the machines, the back wall that you see there, the machines that's the enclosure. They're below grade because of all the piping and plumbing. So you have to go into the building, step down, and that's where the pumps are. They're in an enclosure. I don't know how long any of you all have been here. Some of y'all remember the Black Pearl water slide. I had the opportunity to be a lifeguard there. I had to go start the pumps up. You go down into the room, start the pumps, but it's in an enclosed structure, so you're not seeing or hearing the loud pumps. It's the exhaust. So if you look at this, this is from, so Munich has got a similar facility, and as you see in the red, that is the current Panama City Beach Code. Shell Point, which is from the developers, or excuse me, the architectural design team, they're getting a level of 56 to 60, standing 10 feet outside the structure. That is the level of noise that they're observing in Munich, which is how we are developing this. If that noise exceeds that, there's other mitigating factors that they can add to this building to help decrease that level. But that's standing 10 feet away from that structure, and your allowed is 70. And you can see all these other ones. These are the levels that we're being told by these professionals. Now, at the end of the day, if something happened and it were allowed, you have a noise ordinance. I'll give my public cell phone out. We're not trying to hide from anyone. The developers, they're local. I will share their cell phones. I won't even ask. I will give it because they're from this community. They're in this community. The investors are here. This is not an out-of-town, fly-by-night, develop this, make a bunch of money, and leave. You've heard the passion of the people that want this. And I respect the community here. We don't want to put anything that's a detriment to the community. That's why it's in an enclosed structure. They're doing everything they can to mitigate this, to create a safe, fun environment for all of us to enjoy. So there's our rebuttal. We've addressed the traffic. Lighting really didn't come up because we know we can control the lighting. But the noise, I mean, the waves are all being directed away from it towards Topgolf. And then the machinery being in an enclosed structure, as you can see, these levels will be much lower than what is allowed to be.
Okay. All right.
All right.
You guys got any questions?
That level you said was, what, 60?
Between 56 and 60 is what they were measuring.
And that's 10 feet outside the building.
That's what they were measuring in the Munich facility.
That's not on Hills Road. What would it be on Hills Road? It'd be less than that.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to have the 8-foot wall. We're going to have the berm on the other side of that. Then you're going to have a 100-foot right-of-way on top of that, which is going to have trees built within that right-of-way, and then you get to the subdivision.
So you can't say for certainty what it would be on middle of Hills Road then?
We know that the levels within 10 feet, as you can see, are less than what the noise ordinance allows, and the closest home to that is at least 150 feet away from that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll, there's actually two parts of this plan that would create noise. One is the machinery, and the other is the restaurant area and where the general populace assembles. What is the distance from where the restaurant in that area is to Hills Road? Do you know? I'm not asking for an exact, but.
So if we look at just Hills Road, between where you see those houses in the green, that's 100 feet right there. So we're talking minimum 300, probably closer to 400 feet.
Okay. All right.
Help me understand the 6 to 10 operating hours, 7 days a week. What is that needed to make this facility work? What?
So the local surfers, when they go out to surf, that's when they go. They go first thing in the mornings before they go to work, those that have jobs. So this is an opportunity for them to come surf. Again, the restaurant's not fired up. You know, everyone's not there. This is more for the local guys and gals to come surf prior to going to work, like going to the gym. This is their gym. So the pumps are on and they're in the pool. There's no music cranked up. I mean, there's nothing other than people in that water body surfing.
Okay. Mr. Whitman, what's the noise ordinance? Is that hourly or?
It's hourly and during the certain days of the week. It's higher on the weekends, lower during the weekdays.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Thank you.
All right. Back to rebuttal from the affected parties.
Hello again, Mr. Mayor. I'm Stanley Stefancic at 227 Summerwood Drive. I certainly hope that the 4 of you voting don't take his word for it unless the city has done their due diligence on those noise levels. I've seen a lot of slides. I've seen a lot of money and decisions backing slides before. That is not decision quality information. Where's the objectivity? I mean, that, to me, is ridiculous. You're just going to potentially go forward with information that he got from Munich. I've been to Munich before. It's certainly not a tourist town. Not like that. It's a city. Just a little something about it. I want to reiterate words about hardship. That wasn't discussed too much by the applicants. They spoke a lot about hardship in the planning board meeting, and it was ridiculous. This does not need to be here in its current configuration with the noise and the threat to, and the expected noise and the threat to our neighborhood. It seems, oh, let's just build it, and if something happens, then we'll do something. Mr. Carroll's own words just a few minutes ago, quote, "our opinion," end quote. Another quote he made the first time he was up here, quote, "if there is a noise issue, then there can be," end quote. So so if y'all vote for this, that will be at our expense, and then we'll have to try to come back and get some mitigation efforts when there's a bunch of discussion about unquantified statements. Mitigation is a broad word. We're just going to mitigate it. The trees are going to mitigate it. 6-foot fence is going to mitigate it. How about some real decision quality level information? What has the city done? We see the information Mr. Carroll's providing. What have the individuals done? They're providing you the information. And one of the last things I want to talk about is probably, in my opinion, the biggest issue, this 1,000-foot setback ordinance for amusement. If it's good enough for Summerwood, it needs to be good enough for the entire city. I'd like to make a challenge to potentially the 5 of you, but the 4 of you voting. If you vote to pass this as it is portrayed right now, as has been proposed, your next vote should be to do away with that 1,000-foot ordinance from residential communities for amusement. Should it not? Why are we different? Please explain to the residents of Summerwood why it's different for Summerwood to put this in its current configuration that is not compatible with our neighborhood. And that's obvious. And already discussion of, if it happens, we'll do some further mitigation. That's already saying that there's a problem. I think that y'all owe us an answer. There should be some discussion. If you vote for this to pass this as it is, you need to do away with that 1,000-foot setback from residential neighborhoods. If it's good enough for Summerwood, it's good enough for the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello again. It's been a long evening. Mike Matthews, 91 Sandalwood Court. Just want to reiterate some of those things. As you know, we talk about how you make a decision if you have the information. We don't have any background, any data. In the package that I sent you, I at least gave you what the decibel was in my backyard. I believe the ordinance states that, you know, nobody can change the ambient noise in my backyard. So if it's at 40 in the morning and they're cranking up at 50 something, you know, I think they should provide some sort of documentation or whatever, studies, you know, to show that they're not going to affect the adjacent properties and raise the ambient noise on those properties. Secondly, I've been around the surf community, love the surf community, don't do it anymore.
All right,
I'm old.
sir, please address us.
But anyway, you know, this is a pay-for facility. You know, one of the things that you like to go surf is you're going to the beach, nature. You're sitting out in the lineup, you know, you're enjoying those natural waves. Sometimes they suck, sometimes they're good. But just know that, you know, when you're going out, this is a paid amusement. They're not going there for free. They're going to have to pay per hour to be there. So some of them, you know, that may be something that's worth because the surf here does suck. I'm not going to, you know, say, you know, but Munich, I've looked at, you know, I don't know why I get these things in my YouTube feed, but I've been getting the surf stuff all the time, and it looks like a great type of thing. But when you look at the Munich facility, it's not near a neighborhood. You look at Waco, not near a neighborhood. Palm Springs, not near a neighborhood. So maybe there's a reason why these facilities aren't near neighborhoods in these other locations. I don't know. Maybe there is. Could be the noise. Maybe it's just not compatible, like the gentleman said. Maybe they should be 1,000 feet from residents. So just to think about, you know, those things when you're looking at it. But again, I say, you know, this should be at least tabled till there's some more information and maybe a better noise mitigation effort. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Sandia Hampton, 115 Sandalwood. Mr. Carroll talks about traffic. I'm concerned, as I said earlier, about the traffic in the neighborhood coming from having something
Sandy,
like
you don't have
that.
to hold on to the microphone.
Oh.
I guess you do. I guess you do. Now you do. Jeez. Pause her time, please. Give her some more time. I know. It's so abused.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, give her a few more seconds and then start it back up, please.
Anyway, the traffic, the road is skinny as it is. It's hard to get in and out. We all know that. One of my primary concerns is we already have some people taking a shortcut through our neighborhood. Please, please, as I asked each of you earlier, please come out to our neighborhood one Saturday. We have walkers, we have joggers, we have bicycles, we have all different ages of people. We don't want people cutting through our neighborhood. You would not want people cutting through your neighborhood. We already have a small problem. This will enhance the problem. Please consider that. Please consider we do not want more traffic in Summerwood and have accidents and have deaths. Please. I ask you to please vote not to put this in this area. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Dak Davis, 92 Sandalwood Court. Can we have them explain how surf competitions will work, and is that going to be considered a special event? A special event to where noise will change because of that? The surf competitions I've been to, I mean, there's usually an extra speaker that somebody says up there and they're narrating it or whatever, and there's a lot of talking. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying that's the ones I've always been to. Whenever I've seen it, that's what happens. And I'm wondering, is that how they're going to do it, and how many are they anticipating happening? If they could answer that.
Thank you. Further rebuttals by affected parties.
Was just Christy Watley, 220 Summerwood Drive. Was just going to reiterate about the traffic issue. Other than the Summerwood residents that are here, you know, I don't know who all cuts through Hills Road, but, you know, with the months of spring break and the 2 bike weeks and the music festivals at Frank Brown, there's a lot of through traffic just to get from Back Beach to Front Beach. With the entrance going into this complex that's they're wanting to build, there is also an entrance that they've mentioned that goes into Summerwood. I was on Summerwood, not just one time, Hills Road. I've seen it, I know, 4 times. This is not golf carts. This is cars. Probably tourists, I don't know, but they left the road. We have sidewalks now in whatever grassy area over there. They left out of there, zoomed on that as much as they could with their car, and turned directly into Summerwood neighborhood. For what? To get to 98. That happens so frequently, even when there isn't backed up traffic, that you wait, and we have to leave our residents so early sometimes just to get out. The 6-lane traffic that they mentioned going on to Hathaway Bridge, Hills is not going to be 6-lane. It's supposedly going to be 4-lane. We even need turn lanes for that to get into all these places. I know this is St. Joe property. Do you know, I guess a lot of people do know, Summerwood was St. Joe property. And again, who decided that 1,000-foot variance was not necessary when the city or St. Joe or whoever made it? I think that's a lot of problem, but it still doesn't need to be in this area because there's so many things that cannot be fixed. They can be things done to improve, but we'd need an interstate on Hills Road for it to improve as greatly as it's being talked. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Further rebuttal by affected parties. Okay. Seeing none, at this time we will close the evidentiary portion of the hearing. Closing arguments. At this time, we will hear closing arguments by staff, then the applicant. Staff? You don't have any? I had some questions. Now the time, I wanted to ask particularly legal.
Yeah, sure. Is it of legal or the applicant? I apologize.
It's a legal question.
Yes.
A few legal questions about what we're actually deciding here and what our limitations are up here. So there are a bunch of comments about the variance. Okay, the variance was decided by the planning board. What is our ability up here to address the variance that was issued by the planning board?
So the 1,000-foot setback was determined by the planning board, and they granted a variance. That question is not before the council today. So the scope of what the council is to consider is whether to grant a large conditional use with or without conditions, and the provision of the LDC that's applicable is in Chapter 5.0602 and 01, and that sets forth a list of factors for the City Council to consider. There is a factor of the 1,000-foot setback, but because that variance was granted, that comes off the table today.
And so just to be clear about this process, this is not really at our discretion to arbitrarily choose things. We have several factors in page 195, the 50601, that we have to consider. And that's what we're considering in this hearing. So many comments about the variance. I totally understand those comments about the variance. That variance has passed, is that right? And so we can't consider that variance.
The planning board's decision was 5-0 in favor of granting the variance with conditions, and I will point that out. They ordered mandatory conditions, so there already is a requirement of a 30-foot vegetative buffer with an 8-foot masonry wall, the hours of operation being limited to 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. to mitigate against noise, and then special events still have to be subject to the city's noise ordinance. So those 3 conditions were actually imposed by the planning board as part of that variance. And so those are already going to be required at a minimum. And so for your consideration today are some additional recommendations that they made, but it's in the context of a large conditional use.
Okay. So let's talk about, want to go?
Yeah, I can. I don't want.
Let me finish this and I'll get you guys.
Sure.
Traffic.
Okay, that was mine.
I understand the concerns about traffic. What is our ability to consider the traffic impact of this conditional use?
So you do have the ability to consider and implement potential safety mitigations, but just the pure increase in traffic, there's a Florida statute, section 163.3180, and what that essentially says is that the developer is going to be required to pay a traffic impact fee, and as long as the developer pays that for the impacts of the traffic, correspondingly the local government cannot use that as a factor in denying a development. And so that's a state statute that we have to follow. However, I know there was discussion about maybe potentially an arm or maybe even lights or things that could help with traffic generally. On that point, I would just add that the public, all of the public, has the right to access public roads. And so we could not do something that would allow a certain class of the public to use a particular road but not others. But with that being said, you can certainly do things like speed bumps, traffic signals, signs, things that are going to hopefully mitigate safety impacts of traffic.
Okay, so something like creating an arm that only residents of Summerwood would have access to and opening up, that's not something we can do?
That would not be something that would be legally permissible, even if it's just on one side, because you're essentially prohibiting members of the public from utilizing a public road. The only alternative is to make it a private road, which under our charter requires a voter referendum.
Okay, so there could be movement for a private road, but it would be a voter referendum per our charter.
Right, a pretty intensive process.
Yeah, and then the maintenance for that road would fall in the neighborhood.
That's correct. So it's essentially almost become a private gated neighborhood.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so say there's an issue with noise, what could be the repercussions of that issue?
Yes, sir. So the noise ordinance for PCB is robust in terms of its level of detail and enforcement mechanisms. So there are noise control officers that are designated whenever a complaint is lodged to come to measure sound. If it exceeds allowable decibels, then the enforcement actions can be any number of things. You can have fines. You can even have jail time. That's a misdemeanor. That applies even to a commercial facility. So the owner and manager of commercial property can be held personally responsible for noise, even if they didn't create it themselves. And then there's also injunctive relief, which is how we bring anyone into compliance with the city code if they're a habitual offender. So for example, if you had a situation where perhaps the citations weren't working or it was repeat behavior, then you can actually go to court and ask a judge to order that person or business to stop doing what they're doing in violating local law. So all of those are tools available.
So if the noise is exceeded or not remedied, then the injunction could shut the business down?
Well, what the injunction likely would say is to mitigate the violation. So they would order, you will not violate this noise law again, and if you do, you have severe penalties imposed by a court of law. So it's a mechanism to gain compliance.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys ask my questions. All good.
What are the hours of our current noise ordinance? I think it's 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
So let me pull it up here. It runs 24 hours a day. It just depends on the day and time of day as to the level of decibels.
Correct.
So there's no out where you could say, oh, you can make any level of noise within this window of time. There's always a cap. That cap just rotates a little bit depending on the time of day and the day.
Well, for instance, a trash truck picking up trash. As I understand it, in residential areas, they can't start before 7 a.m.
I think it's 4.
That's in a franchise agreement.
Yeah, I think it's,
That's part of the so that's not in the noise ordinance.
That's not in the noise.
4 or
ordinance.
5?
yeah, 4 or 5.
Is it 4 or 5?
But the franchise, they can't start before 7 o'clock, but that said,
Oh.
nothing to do with the sound ordinance.
Disappointing.
Okay. Ms. Madalena, if you could look up that noise ordinance, I'd appreciate it. I do, while you're doing that, I'm going to try and ask you to multitask. In terms of the presentation of evidence and staff's ability to do independent research here, what is the staff's ability to validate these claims by the manufacturer, or what requirements for the applicant do they have for truthfulness in their presentation of evidence?
So broadly speaking, the applicant bears the burden of proof. They have to present competent, substantial evidence. You as a body have the opportunity to hear testimony from witnesses. You can cross-examine those witnesses in terms of evidence. Because this isn't what we kind of call an administrative proceeding, the rules of evidence are not as stringent as you have in a court of law. So by way of example, things like hearsay, which might not normally be admissible in a court, are admissible here. And so based on the evidence presented about decimal level and things like that being relayed. I think that's admissible evidence, and then it's up to you as the tribunal to determine if it meets a competence standard.
Okay. All right. So we heard no closing arguments by staff. Applicant, do you have any closing arguments? And Ms. Madalena, if you can get that noise ordinance, that'd be great.
I've got it out.
Robert Carroll again. Just a couple of things. So we know noise is the biggest stickler here. Well, traffic, but traffic is, it is what it is. On the noise, so most developments that come in, we were involved in a project that when the amphitheater was built, it was subject to the noise, and whole noise study had to be done. We can do a noise study here. I mean, we will voluntarily, this still has to go through an entire development order process. So we have to get this conditional use first. Then we have to take and fully design this entire facility and do everything, submit it to the city. City staff will review it, engineering, utilities, fire department, everyone. So as a condition, we can say you will have to provide a noise study that way it'll give us the ambient noises, what we're beginning with, and then afterwards, do we know what these levels are? So, I mean, we can voluntarily do that. You haven't asked us to do that. Maybe you would, but I mean, that's something that can be provided. And then on the 1,000-foot buffer, so that only came into play since 2012? So 2012 is when that came into play. That was not when this residential subdivision was built, so there was never a 1,000-foot protection from this. That was, during the time there were people that were developing slingshots, all these different high-end attractions, and that was, you know, when the land use code, you had TM zoning, T3 zoning. So anyway, I think the intent of that rule was to create or to stop those attractions from going everywhere. This variance process allows, and we're not talking about the variance, but I just want to put that on the record, is that it allows you to look at development. That's why the variance is in there. If you didn't want it, you'd have it in your comp plan. You can't deviate from the comp plan. But it was allowed to be in here, and that's what allowed that mechanism for us to move forward. So that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. That's closing arguments by staff and applicant. This time we'll move on to council discussion. Ms. Madalena, did you have that noise ordinance?
I do.
Yeah. Can you help us understand that?
Well, it's complex.
Yeah.
So
Robust.
It is robust. It's in terms of what's allowed. It talks about the number of measurements that the officer must record under different circumstances. For example, if you showed up and all of a sudden the noise stopped, right? Then one reading is enough. Otherwise, you need 3 readings. Then you count. Okay, are we talking a residential use or a commercial use? And so residences are measured differently. It's a little bit quieter within a residential area versus in a zone commercial area. Then there can be a little bit of flexibility depending on if it's located within the tourist district or within 200 feet of the tourist district. You can add a few decibels and change that. But essentially what it sets forth is a procedure by which anybody can call. The officer will come out. They will take measurements. They will plug it into the formulas that are set forth in the city's noise ordinance. If it is a violation, then there are any number of opportunities available to the city for enforcement. And by way of example, a second violation is when the criminal penalties get triggered. So even on a second citation within a 6-month period, it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
So that's kind of the basics, but it's lengthy.
Yeah. Okay. We're moving on to council discussion. The noise study makes a lot of sense.
It was offered, let's do it.
What?
It makes sense to me, Mayor, and like Mr. Carroll said, tonight, there's a lot more that's gonna have to happen for this project to happen. So a noise study, I would like to see that. And one other question that hasn't been answered that a gentleman brought up was about, because I know they will have some surf contests there, would the decibel level be different if they got a special event permit to do the surf contest, or would it still be the same level?
Based on the planning board's order, already there is a provision that if they're having a special event, they still must comply with the noise ordinance.
So
So
it would be
it would
the
not
same.
change that threshold. That's correct. And that's already in place by virtue of the planning board's variance.
So if we vote to approve this conditional use tonight, we're not voting to approve the whole project. I mean,
That's correct.
that's gonna take some more time. We're just approving this step.
That's correct.
I was just going to say, it seems also, considering we're looking at this variance, is that I would expect that the developers will, if this is approved, the developers then have to design it to meet these standards. So it's not a matter of everything is designed and we'll see if it works. I think they're going to design it and and we're going to hold them to it that it does work. So.
Okay.
Yes, I would definitely support doing a noise study. I think that's very important, because I do believe that 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings are too early, depending on what the noise level is like. And we really have no way of knowing unless we take a road trip and go check out one of these surf parks in another community.
Done that before.
I'd also like to make sure that it is in writing that no outside music boom boxes are allowed.
Okay.
It's one thing for it to be said, but I want to make sure that we get that in writing.
Yeah.
And how early would the employees be starting? Well, if they start at 6, then they need to be there at 5:30. If you're opening at 6.
Okay.
I also think we need to fast-track Hill Road.
Well, that was a discussion that I was going to bring up. I mean, it's up to us to look at the CRA schedule and what we're doing there, and that's on us.
Yeah, I think that's really important for us to direct staff to take a look at that and see if we can't move that
Well, that
forward.
additional 33 feet that they're deeding to us is going to be huge, and we're going to need to get that additional 33 feet all the way from Front Beach to Back Beach. So hopefully, when the rest of that gets developed, we'll get that. But I guess we're getting that at no cost, pretty much. That's being deeded to the city.
Right, as part of the development agreement, they're donating that piece of land. Yeah.
So is it the development agreement to what here is called Topgolf Way, or is it all the way to Back Beach?
I don't have the answer to that right now. I'd need to look at the agreement.
So, yeah, there's going to be.
The applicant might be able to confirm.
This is just, it's the length of the entire property, so. Okay, that's in the
The
2020.
length of this project, not all the way from Front Beach to Back Beach. Right.
Okay. I'm concerned about construction. You know, we've kind of talked about the noise study, talked about holding them accountable, but that's years down, and we know that construction is also disruptive. You know, the idea of all these trucks going up and down Hills Road does concern me, and there is at least plans for that additional access road there. Ms. Madeline, is there an ability as part of this conditional use to say that large vehicles used in this construction use alternate routes? Or what are our options here?
Yes, I think if you're concerned about the burden of a particular type of vehicle, right,
Yeah.
not necessarily that public analysis of excluding certain types of people, that could be something that you might direct a particular or preferred access route to minimize impact.
Okay.
Is that something that would be done now or at the next hearing of the development?
Well, and I'll give that to Mel to see if, as part of the development process, is that something that they generally consider? The purpose of today's hearing for the large conditional use is whether the factors are met in the LDC, and you can place conditions in order to get the project to meet those factors.
Yeah, the City Code of Ordinances require, as part of a building permit, a construction management plan when the project's large enough to warrant one. But we could certainly look at that at the development order stage, which is months before they ever get to a building permit.
Okay.
And since the building division's part of the building and planning department, we can have the building official part of that development order process, thinking ahead about the construction management plan and in any type of advice about what alternative routes might work or more acceptable than others can be considered at that time.
Okay. All right. So it's a little bit further down. Okay.
All right.
Any further council discussion?
Let's see.
So to restate, this conditions being discussed, noise study, and commitment to no outside music devices, or how do you want to indicate boom boxes?
Boom boxes.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a definition. I mean, as
Right.
you know, a cell phone can play music,
That's
and
what you're
and so you don't want to obviously exclude people from bringing in personal items and things of that nature.
As long as they don't hook it up to a Bluetooth speaker, and then we start the noise wars. Because one cabana wants their music louder than the other cabana.
Okay. I don't know how do we get that, but I'm certainly
Is that something that we would attach to the variance, or is that something that we can also attach during the development order?
Well, the variance part is closed as the planning board made its decision, but as part of the large conditional use, we can work on doing it as a condition. I'm working out how you would word that to capture the things that you're trying to address. And again, you still have the noise ordinance in play. So no matter who's talking, playing music, whatever it is that they may be doing inside of the facility, it still is capped at all times by the noise ordinance itself. And so if that limits the carryover to the neighborhood, I guess it may not be something that necessarily changes the analysis in terms of appropriate noise levels.
Okay, I'd just like for the residents not to have to be calling for loud noise on a constant basis. I don't think any of us want to deal with that. So whatever protections we can put in for the neighborhood is very important.
okay.
All right.
I'll just tell you my point of view on this. Well, I believe it meets all of these, and a lot of things can go there. A lot of things where people are just going to, go in for an hour and then leave and generate traffic. A lot of things where we don't necessarily require, or we don't see interior parking lots, right? Parking lots that could be adjacent to Hills Road without a conditional use that the city would, and talk about traffic up and down Hills Road. Things that are over 2 stories could go there. I'm extremely sympathetic to the, we like it the way it is. I'm extremely sympathetic to that. But there's a large undeveloped commercial high property right adjacent to the neighborhood. And so the hope is to get the best development there to maintain as good a quality of life as possible. And that could be a whole bunch of restaurants, right? It could be a whole bunch of restaurants getting in, getting out. They're going to be there. If you run a restaurant, you're going to the whole point is to turn over a table, right? Because that's how you make money. You get a turnover table versus a development here that's really wants you to be there for hours, right? So that's why, should we move to voting? I plan on voting yes on this one. Also, quite frankly, I know this isn't necessarily things that residents consider, but I do consider, when we have double reds, we have a lot of enforcement actions. And this is an alternative option for folks on double reds. Because, and it's going to happen here in the next couple months, there's going to be challenges with beach safety in the next couple months. And we have those double reds for a reason, but people don't always follow them. So giving them alternative options, I think, is good for the city.
Yes, Mayor, I've lived here for over 50 years, and I wish things were the same as they were when I moved here. But I think the last count, there's like 1,500 people a day that are moving to Florida, and I think a lot of them are moving here. I wish we could put a no vacancy sign up on the bridges so people would stop.
Maybe we can try some of those arms.
And put the arms up. But we all are transplants, most all of us, even though I've been here over 50 years. I'm not, wasn't born here, but the reality is this property's going to get developed. I mean, it's not going to stay the way it is. And I agree with the mayor. I think this is probably the best use that you're going to get. But I would like to see a noise study, and there's many, many more steps that this developer has to go through. I've seen more of these big projects, and probably Holly and Drew agree, that never made it, you know. But they're applying for all the permits and going through the right steps, and I believe in our planning board, and they were unanimous in their decision, and I just think it's the best use for the property. So I would, if you want some more discussion, or I'll make a motion to go ahead and move forward with this conditional use.
Well, the only thing I would add before seconding is that I think everyone up here understands the concerns. And if there's anything that comes back that is negative, we have other opportunities to address that. So, and I'm sure we will all utilize those opportunities as needed. So I second.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification before we get to the vote. So there were 5 conditions recommended by the planning board. So does this motion include all 5 of those?
That's correct.
Okay,
Now-
and then
Go ahead.
the addition of a noise study, and then the addition of a
No blue
limitation
box.
on amplified sound devices. And if I may make a suggestion, the LDC references that the noise shall not be greater than the ambient conditions. So if it's okay with you, I can put a definition for amplified sound and utilize that restriction.
Okay. You might have to explain that to me later.
It's part of our robust noise ordinance.
Do you want to amend your
Yes,
motion?
my motion includes all that.
Yes, sir.
I second the amended motion.
I think there's always the fear of the unknown, and that's what we have here, is we fear what we don't know and what we don't understand. When I moved here, I realized that I was moving into a tourist destination. I knew that every piece of land here will eventually be developed, hopefully not in my lifetime. So you have to learn to live with it. And I know when they built the apartments over at Pier Park, next to Frank Brown Park, everybody in our neighborhood said, oh, this is terrible, it's gonna bring down housing, it's gonna be bad, they're gonna put in low-cost housing. And it has turned out to be a very nice development, very well managed, and has been a credit to our neighborhood. So I think that we need to keep our minds open when it comes to new projects.
It's kind of crazy growing up here. I try to look back, and it's almost if back in the 70s and the 80s, the rate of growth, I don't think has really changed much. It's just that as we got bigger, that growth coincided with it. So I definitely remember the days when there was nothing on Back Beach and it was two lanes.
I know, my dad wouldn't even look at buying property back there because he said nothing had ever happened.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Fazzoni.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Councilman Register, you're abstaining. Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. You want to just try and go through the rest of these?
Let's go through it.
Let's get them done. Let's get them done. Okay. Moving on to item 3.
See if we ordered pizza an hour ago. it'd be-
Okay.
And thank everyone for
Yes,
coming.
thank you. Thank you for your participation. I'm going to take a 2-minute break.
Okay.
If that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna, yeah. You see how much water I've drank? Did you bring the bourbon? Yeah. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Oh, we're taking a break?
Well, I'm going to. You want me to pass it down to you? Back in the meeting. Next up. Welcome back. Next up is item 3.
Where'd everybody go? I'm just.
Yeah, we get to the good stuff.
Item 3. Mr. Davis, can you read?
Well, there's nothing to read.
It's a
but
quasi.
Oh, it's a quasi,
Here we go
okay.
again.
This is a
So-
replat for the Northwind Commercial Re-subdivision lots 2 and 3.
All right, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. It's another one of these. This is a hearing to consider approval of the replat for the Northwind Commercial Redevelopment Lots 2 and 3, Section 100700 of the City's Land Development Code. This is a quasi-judicial hearing governed by the City's Land Development Code. The hearing is based on the recommendation of the Planning Board's approval. Members of the council have been provided a copy of that order for our review. We will now begin the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in this hearing, please rise to be sworn in. Ms. Fazzoni,
Do
please
you
swear me.
swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Leonard, the notice requirements for this meeting are met for this hearing.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Disclosure. At this time, we'll ask each of the council members for their Jennings disclosure.
Nothing
We'll bring you.
disclose.
Oh,
Staff. The city engineer?
Is it at this point?
City engineer, just gotta give a report.
Yeah, it's after our.
the staff presentation's after the Jennings
Yeah.
disclosures.
All right.
Nothing?
Nothing to disclose.
I have nothing to disclose.
Nothing to
I also have nothing to disclose. Now we will hear the staff's report.
From the review from the planning division is that the property is in the city limits, it's complies with the land development code, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you.
There he is.
Thank you, sir. The Northwinds Commercial Re-subdivision, lots 2 and 3, is generally located in the northwest corner of the intersection with Alf Coleman and Panama City Beach Parkway. You'll probably recognize it in November of 2024. At that council meeting, we had the original plat of this particular one. This is moving a single property line between lots 2 and 3, 8.38 feet over, and adjusting the size in order to accommodate future development for the developer. Nothing is changing as far as what's being dedicated to the city. The access road and stormwater-related infrastructure still remains private, and the access and utility easement grants the city of Panama City Beach access to maintain the utilities within that easement. So it's the exact same dedications as the original plat. It's just adjusting that one property line, making one larger and one slightly smaller. The stormwater on this particular parcel for this development is for the 100-year storm event, and they do have an approved CLOMAR from FEMA.
Okay.
An approved what?
I'm sorry, I should have, conditional letter of map revision.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Rothwell. Applicant. At this time, we will hear from the applicant. You waited all this time for this. Make it good.
Yeah, I wish I was number 1 or 2 instead of number 3. I didn't know I was going through all that. Jonathan Sanchez, LJ Engineering, professional engineering, professional surveyor and mapper. Prepared the map for this. It's pretty straightforward. The developer's just moving the line, shifting it over for future building that they needed more room. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. At this time,
Even the news left.
yeah, they wanted me to interview. It's like, we're gonna get this meeting done.
It's gotta be on by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. They'll cover it tomorrow. At this time, we will hear from any affected party who wishes to speak. Please come up and state your name and address for the record. Any affected parties? Going once, going twice, gone. Any public comment? Any public comment? Once? Gone. All right. At this time, we will hear any rebuttal by staff, any affected party, or the applicants. Do we need to rebut moving this line 8 feet? No, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
All right. No rebuttals? No rebuttals. All right. At this time, we're going to close the evidentiary portion of this hearing. Closing arguments. Are there any closing arguments by staff or the applicant? No? You had everything you need to say? Applicant? Nope. Okay. Council discussion. What do you want to talk about?
Motion to approve.
Sounds like a great discussion. Ms. Mazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. All right, now we're moving on to Resolution 25112. Mr. Davis, we haven't heard from you.
You know, I mean,
Miss
you
you.
gotta practice sometimes.
We miss you.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with DRMP Inc. for CRA Program Management Consultant Services and approving a task order for consultant services during fiscal year 2025.
Okay. At this time, we will hear any public comment on this item. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Mr. Whitman, would you like you or Mr. Adair?
I'd like Mr. Adair to do it. He's done a lot of work on this. I'd like to have him get the credit.
Okay. Mr. Adair, I know we are trying to get through this meeting. This is important. Please, please help us understand this one.
Thank you. John Adair, Public Works. I'll keep it short and sweet. So the CRA currently has a CRA manager. That contract is expiring at the end of July. So in order to keep the CRA moving, we are bringing on a new consultant to make sure there's no gap in service, so we can allow for a simple, easy transition to keep the program running.
Okay. How do we find this consultant?
I proactively searched for him. I needed someone that had the experience. DRP started this project 20 years ago, and there was someone that could jump in right off the bat.
Okay. Okay. So they have good experience with the project?
Yes, sir. They have a lot of knowledge of the project. They were one of the first companies that we worked with 25 years ago.
Okay.
How long is this agreement for?
Right now, it's just to help me get through segment 3. They're looking at the plans for 4142, and after we get fleet 3 completed, we could always bid it out. But this will get me through the fiscal year.
Like a one-year agreement, or?
This contract's for the fiscal year, and we can extend it past that.
Okay.
Stopgap for now.
Stop. Okay. This is going to get segment 3 completed, Mr. Adair?
We're going to try to land the plane, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and we're going to review 4142 plans with this agreement as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those are both essential things that we need to take care of as soon as possible. We need segment 3 open. Thank you, Mr. Adair.
Thanks, John.
Okay, any council discussion?
Motion to approve. Oh, second.
All right, Ms. Mazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to the city manager report.
I actually have a lengthy report tonight.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Save it.
No,
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, the mayor said this at the beginning of the meeting, our city council meetings for June, July, and August have been moved to 5 o'clock. You guys voted at that several months ago. It's been posted on the city's webpage. It's been notified. It's been advertised. I just wanted to remind the public one more time, June, July, and August, our city council meetings will be at 5 o'clock so the council can attend the Thursday night concerts.
Let's take it a step further, and the ones that are previously scheduled for 6 PM, not the 9 AM meetings are moving. Just the 6 PM ones are going to 5 o'clock.
Yes, correct.
Correct, yeah, I just want to make sure we're abundantly clear.
It's on our webpage. Our social media will post it again, but we have covered everything.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, we want to
Thank
make
you.
sure people have the option to see these meetings, and
Absolutely.
we'll remind them as they change. Okay, any further report?
No, sir.
City attorney?
Well, where do I start? Okay, so very briefly, last meeting, you directed us to work on code enforcement changes and to look at our code enforcement to make sure that we had all the tools that we needed.
Yeah.
City manager, assistant city manager, and I met with the planning department, code enforcement department, and reviewed the existing tools that we have and believe that there are things that we can address under our existing tools. So we will not be bringing you any new ordinances at this time unless you direct us to. Coupled with that, we have taken some code enforcement action against Gulf World. Our building department and fire inspector did a thorough inspection of that facility, found 6 areas of deterioration, and have ordered those areas be vacated and fixed. So I wanted to give you that update. Finally, there was some CRA legislation in Tallahassee that was very detrimental to our ability to complete the CRA, including something that would have banned you from even starting Hills Road expansion. You directed us to do a resolution opposing that bill. Mayor Teddemer traveled to Tallahassee and testified in front of the Senate in opposition to that bill. That bill died in the session. It did not pass, and so I wanted to give you that update as well. That is my report. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll now go to council comments. Councilmember Coburn, any comments?
Just a reminder that Ironman is on Saturday, so plan your travel schedule and the times that you're going to travel wisely.
Yep. Councilman Register?
Let's not forget our mothers this Sunday.
Yeah.
So happy Mother's Day to all the moms in our community, and mothers to be soon, all those wonderful things. So let's make sure we follow up with them and take great care of them this Sunday. But other than that, great meeting. And
Yep. Great reminder. Councilman Castro?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
just can we get the triathlon map on our Facebook page?
Yep.
That would be great.
Okay, I do have something.
And that's all I got.
I'm sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
Okay, I do have something. We are about to get into budget season. I think we should take a look at parking rates. I believe we are below market for our 3 lots. I think we should look at getting either at or a little bit above market so that, the market kind of comes to us. Also, for the spring break period, we should look at seeing what the options are for special rates. And then finally, I just wanted to see if we'd be interested in looking at the ability with our parking app to offer free parking for residents. I know those lots aren't the biggest residential use, free or reduced parking for residents. So I wanted to get the council's temperature on those items.
Yeah, we can discuss it at the next meeting. I'm all game.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we just need to.
I'd like to have some discussion on that, for sure.
Okay. All right. So can we start looking at those rates? Are we okay with starting to look at those rates, getting some information?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So looking at or above market rate, special rates for a spring break period, and then resident discount or free parking and the ability to do that and what impact that would be.
I know that also in some of these apps, you have the opportunity to change the cost of the parking depending on the day of the week. So we might look at peak times,
Yeah, kind of surge
Saturday and
pricing.
Sunday to raise it up a little bit more, holidays, things like that, so to include that.
I'm amenable to all that. This is the way the market works right now. These are visitors coming in. Everyone's used to paying for parking nowadays, and it helps us do things like road expansions and skate parks.
And more parking.
Okay. Well, I also I thank the council. This has been a long one. I thank the staff and members of the audience for sitting through this multi-hour long meeting. Thank you all so much, and I do ask the Lord to continue to lead us and guide us, and we pray for a safe weekend for our first responders, for our visitors, for our residents, for everyone in Panama City Beach. All right. We'll see you at the next meeting.